So hey everyone, just going live tonight for my, third weekly live stream. The setting has kind of changed because I'm just fucking so tired. So I just decided to sit on my bed instead of the regular stuff. But yeah, so this week we're going to talk about some stuff. People give me some good suggestions on my community tab and everything. But yeah, to start with, we're asking about why America has such a weird hatred of Bernie Sanders. And before I get this all started, let me just post this link on my Twitter so people can, come watch the live stream from my Twitter feed and everything. But yeah, basically, I want to talk today about America's irrational fear or hatred of Bernie Sanders because I've been thinking about this a lot and about why there's so much like vitriol and stuff directed to him. And it's the same with Jeremy Corbyn in the UK. Like the hatred is so strong, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of weird to me that a nice like old man, because at the end of the day, Bernie Sanders is like a nice person and everything. How he inspires so much hatred in just regular people, and it's including regular Democrats and everything. But just one sec, I'm going to tweet this video out to everyone. So come watch my live stream talking US politics and other things. Yeah, Matthew, that's a good point. But I think it's not just the right wing that really hate Bernie Sanders. I think a lot of Democrats do. You just see like any comments on, feeds about Hillary Clinton and stuff like, oh, Sanders isn't a real Democrat. Sanders owns like loads of mansions and shit like that. It's just really annoying. Sorry, one sec. Just posting this on my Twitter. Come watch my live and other things. Okay, that is done. Do you know who Jonathan Pye is? Yeah, he's a British comedian. He's pretty funny, actually. I do like his videos. I watch him a lot. But obviously it is an act, he's pretending to be a news reporter. But yeah, I like him. So let me just get the chat up so I can see all your comments as you send them in. Alright, I'm ready for everything then. Sorry. What else do you have to say? Yeah, so back to Bernie Sanders and the irrational fear and stuff. So, obviously, Bernie Sanders is a socialist, social democrat, and the point of socialism is that you want everyone to be free to pursue their own interests, essentially, and be free, of capitalism and everything like that. So, at his heart, no matter if you disagree with his policies and stuff, I don't understand why you hate someone. And basically, someone who's been fighting for, equality his whole life and everything. The same with Jeremy Corbyn. I don't know how people find that so offensive, especially when it comes, to people like, let's say Bernie Sanders versus Joe Biden, right? So Joe Biden's like a career politician. He supported all this, real shit throughout his career, Iraq War, Patriot Act, deregulating Wall Street, Anita Hill, the controversy around the way he treated her and everything like that. And think of someone like that. There's someone like Bernie Sanders, who, when he was mayor in Vermont, helping to pick up trash on like Sundays, doing all these nice things for the community when he was a teenager, fighting for racial justice in the civil rights era and stuff like that. And it's crazy that despite if you have ideological differences with him, what has he ever said in politics that is so grossly offensive to anyone? Like standing up for oppressed people, trying to further civil rights in the country and everything like that. And it's a similar thing with Jeremy Corbyn, but people just find it so offensive. Like in the UK recently, we had a video of the soldiers from the paratroopers in the British Army shooting targets of Jeremy Corbyn, and it's crazy to me. I'm like, why the hell would anyone in the army want to carry out violence against someone who essentially is like a pacifist? But then you got to remember how much hysteria and propaganda the establishment in general, I'm not just talking about the media, whip up against figures like Bernie Sanders and Jeremy Corbyn, because it's crazy like how brainwashed you'd have to be even if you didn't like someone to just have this crazy hatred. So I'm thinking about if there was a right wing person who was like libertarian, I'm not talking about like Rand Paul because he's a sellout and stuff, but if there was like a right wing person and they had a history of always fighting for, all these things like justice and everything. And despite them coming from the right wing perspective and everything, I wouldn't be, have a crazy hatred of them and stuff. And nothing can make me have a crazy hatred of them because, at the end of the day, if they were fundamentally decent, I could see that. And that's the thing with Bernie and Jeremy Corbyn. But because, people are fucking idiots, I guess, they get whipped up into such a frenzy. Marxism equals, Venezuela, or Marxism equals the Soviet Union, and Jeremy Corbyn, Ian Duncan Smith in the UK, just after the shooting of the targets, he went on the BBC and said Jeremy Corbyn is a Marxist with the sole goal of destroying the UK. He said that live on the BBC, and no one picked him up on it and be like, "Don't you think that's a bit unfair that that you can come on the BBC and say that just after soldiers have been shooting targets at him?" Because if you're dumb enough, you probably believe Jeremy Corbyn is a Marxist who wants to destroy the UK. But how can, something like the BBC is meant to be impartial, let a Tory politician, who used to be leader of the Tories, come on TV and say that to millions of people, and if you don't challenge them on something like that, you know what's going to happen. The people, might think that's a legit way of thinking towards these people. It's just crazy that's allowed to even, happen. So people saying in the chat, like Jordan, America loves Bernie, it's just the corporate media. Kennedy Crouch is saying America loves Bernie. And Laura is saying that Hillary's uncommitted superdelegate state gave it to her. Well, obviously a lot of people like Bernie Sanders. I'd say he's probably one of the most popular politicians in America. But you'd probably say he's also one of the most hated ones. Maybe that comes with the fame. I don't know. And it's same with Jeremy Corbyn a bit, because he is popular. Like, a lot of people like him, whereas someone like Theresa May, people, or mostly, they hate her, or they don't feel really anything towards her, anything positive. So yeah, that doesn't make sense that you think Bernie Sanders is like a popular figure and everything, because he is, but at the same time, the backlash against him is something I find particularly insane. Like, especially, I said this on other live streams, and I said this in my video, so Bernie Sanders in a lot of ways is just pushing for stuff that Western Europe, Scandinavia, places like that already have. So, for example, socialised healthcare. And that's like his main thing, isn't it? Like socialised healthcare, climate change, and being anti-war, I guess. That's like three things, right? And you'd think, in a civilized society, those are three things that we can probably all agree on. Do you know what I mean? People shouldn't have to pay or be bankrupted because they get cancer or something, or their families shouldn't be left in hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt because their loved one died of cancer and they had to get treated and stuff. And that's just being fundamentally decent, especially in the richest country that's ever to existed in the modern era, the United States. And climate change as well. If you just base it on facts and stuff, it's like this is going to destroy our planet. And what people don't realize about climate change, it's not about your summer might get a bit hotter, or the winter might be warmer and everything. It's about, in countries like in Africa, changing the temperature just a bit is going to cause massive droughts and scarcity of water, which is going to lead to more conflicts, like wars in the region, that could pull in more people. So, for example, I think Kenya is going to, which is one of their primary crops is flowers. When you buy people flowers, that comes in places like Kenya, right? But it's going to get hot, so a lot of these industries are going to go out of business because it's going to be too hot to grow these flowers. And in places like that, when the economies of these poor countries go under, and then resources become more scarce, that's going to turn the world into shit and stuff. And yeah, it might not affect rich countries and everything so much to start with, but it eventually will. And then you might have resource wars and things like that. And you think the refugee crisis in Europe is bad today after the Syrian civil war and Arab Spring and stuff. I guarantee you, around the world, it'll be so much worse in the next 50 years when all the effects of climate change kick in. And that's what idiots in America don't realise. It's not about the world getting a tiny bit hotter. It's about all the effects that will bring and everything. And rising sea levels, destroying land, destroying homes and everything. So I'm just going to get into some comments. So right-wingers in America don't think climate change is real. Yep, they've been brainwashed too by, corporate-owned media, because, what corporations own the places you get your news from, like oil, fossil fuels, everything like that. Michael saying anyone who challenges the status quo will get attacked. People fear change. Yeah, well, people also brainwash to fear change because what will that, who does that change affect primarily? Who does it cost? It's the people who control the country at the moment. Kennedy saying socialism is polling really well in the Midwest right now, and Bernie has been campaigning on tackling agribusiness, so I really think he'll do well here. Jordan saying never underestimate how uneducated Americans are. Well, the thing is in America is that you had a social democrat president in the 1930s, and he was the most popular president you ever had. Served 4 terms, although he died on his last term. So I'm obviously talking about FDR. And the thing is, back then, I've said in other live streams, it wasn't, socialism and capitalism. It was literally like, here are the problems in the United States right now. How are we going to fix it? Oh, let's do X, Y, and Z to help the economy, to save the country and everything, and let's carry that out, rather than being like, oh, Bernie's not a capitalist, or that Mayor Pete guy talking about, all this shit about capitalism and everything. It's just kind of stupid how, how much Americans worship free market capitalism, which has destroyed the working class and middle class in America for the last 50 years. I don't think most Americans understand, or it's been a good attempt by the ruling class to make you not understand what socialism is and what capitalism really is. And people, even libertarians, are saying like America's not capitalist, it's corporatist and shit like that. Well, in my opinion, corporations ruling the country is a result of free market capitalism, because if it's free market, what's stopping corporations ruling the country? Like, why? How does that not fit into a free market capitalist ideology? It does, but they're being a bit ignorant, trying to be like, we're going to live in some shitty 1820s England rural utopia where people will just come to market their goods and we'll sell them, and that's why a lot of people in America are deluded in many different ways. So Izzy Sanchez saying, we do have idiots here. I'm in Florida and we have many people who don't believe in climate change and how the refugee issue is going to be worse. And that's quite funny because Florida is obviously going to be really hurt by climate change with all the land it will lose and things like that. And obviously Florida might also be hit by refugee issues from the Caribbean and stuff. So kind of funny that a lot of people in Florida don't. But obviously Florida is nuts, isn't it? As well. Kennedy saying most Americans think politics don't impact their lives. It's like there's like a cultural dissociation from politics. Yeah, I agree that. I think a lot of people think they can just turn their brain off and be like, politics doesn't affect me, or I'm not political and shit like that. You don't get to be non-political because everything in your life is dictated by politics. Politics is everything. That's why I hate people who tell celebrities like stop talking about politics. Even though I agree some celebrities are idiots when it comes to politics, but at the same time they're citizens as well, and these things will affect them. Some people being like, oh, video games shouldn't be political. It's like, if a video game reflects society, it's inherently political. So I don't understand why people are such butthurts about that. So Izzy Sanchez Jr. saying we already have a refugee crisis out at the border, but it was this country's fault that we have the issue at the border. The US has ruined most of the South American countries' economies. Yeah, of course, that's true. And how long has America interfered with South America since like the Monroe Doctrine in the 1820s, when Britain helped to get a lot of those South American countries independence, because Britain didn't really want America and Spain interfering so much down there, so they helped get, I think it's like Colombia, Argentina, places like that, help them get their independence from Spain, to get just break the sort of Spanish Empire's rule in that, and the Americans basically said no more interfering in America. But then throughout history, Americans have just fucked over South America. It's just awful what they've done there. Like, I was reading about all the coups they've done in Latin America as well, like the Caribbean including. It's actually crazy, and it's a dark period of history. I think one thing that educated me on it a lot was Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, which came out in 2009. Basically, it's set in the 70s in Nicaragua during the revolution against Somoza, who's an American-backed dictator. But it was interesting. They talk about the 1930s, and it was like the first time the US Marines were sort of sent to South America, and they were sent over to back this dictator and kill the Sandinistas, who I forgot what their name was originally. But that happened in South America all the time, like whether that's Panama, obviously, Panama Canal and everything. Cuba, Puerto Rico, taking out from the Spanish after the Spanish-American War. So, American imperialism, starts with Latin America. It's expanded a lot further around the world these days, but all those problems in South America, and people have seen shows like Narcos and things, and you see how much they interfere in these countries then as well, and how a lot of their actions help facilitate the drug problems that Latin America has. So let's keep going. Sorry. Oh my God, Susie, thanks for the donation. You really shouldn't have though. I always feel a bit guilty when people donate some money to me. But yeah, I really, really appreciate it. Comment something if you want me to read it out. Sorry, I'm just flicking through his comments. So, Kennedy saying, I like to daydream about a world where Bernie is president, Corbyn is PM, and Lula is free. Yeah, it's a nice thing to dream about. I think the thing is, we're close to having Corbyn as a PM if there's a general election called in the next couple months, but we'll see if that happens or we actually agree a Brexit deal. So fingers crossed. But Bernie's got a much better chance of becoming president, I think, than Corbyn has becoming prime minister. And also, the last socialist prime minister we had, he resigned because MI5 was spying on him and trying to paint him as a Soviet spy. If you want to know, what happens to socialist presidents here. So Michael's saying, Jordan is right about us being uneducated. When people hear the word socialism, they kind of red scare like there's some kind of possibility we will become the full-blown USSR. Yeah, Michael, this just goes to what I was saying earlier. It's just the US elite have done such a good job with associating socialism with Venezuela, USSR, China and stuff. There's really no nuance about it. Of course, socialist ideology was written in the 1840s and stuff, which, sorry, it had no. If you read it, it's not talking about authoritarian states where the elites fuck over the people, really. But if you're uneducated, yeah, and also the education system. I was talking about this last week on stream. When I went to school, when I was 14, you learn about communism, a bit about the ideology, and then you dive straight into Stalinism, and in your head, you're inherently against socialism and communism because as a young, impressionable teenager, you've just been told that communism has equaled Stalin's purges and all these horrible shit in the USSR in the 1930s, and it's hard to get that away from what you're thinking. So if you just do that and then you grow up never really learning about it, in your head you're always going to associate communism, socialism with the USSR, especially at its worst period as well. So Izzy says he can't wait to vote for Bernie in 2020. I hope everyone in this chat does, or someone like him if he doesn't get the nom. Roro Zoro saying, as much as I dislike Alex Jones, he got the info war thing correct. The ruling class has total control of the narrative via MSM. Progressive voices are shut out. Yeah, Roro, I agree with Alex Jones, but Alex Jones literally is the elite. He talks to Trump and everything. Like at this time, if he was ever anti-elite, he sold out completely. So Veronica saying America is the new Europe. I guess you mean in terms of colonialism and stuff. Izzy Sanchez saying that's correct, and then the country has ruined Central America. When we're talking about Latin America, has ruined Central American countries, Nicaragua, Guatemala, El Salvador, and now these countries, 70% of the countries are ruled by gangs. Yeah, the El Salvador stuff is particularly fucked, really. I wrote my dissertation on Jimmy Carter and his foreign policy, and even him, who's obviously quite a good non-interventionist president, so he did a lot of shit there, like kept funding the government, even though they killed obviously Archbishop Romero, and in Jimmy Carter's biography or autobiography, or his not his total biography but his presidential biography, he doesn't even talk about El Salvador. Probably feels pretty guilty about it. Yeah, America has also been colonialist to Asia for ages as well. Like I made that video about Taiwan, talking about how America has always played off China and Japan off one another because of its interest in the Pacific. So, Roro saying Americans are taught entirely different history in textbooks. Yeah, American history is super patriotic, isn't it? Like, the reality of the revolution is never really talked about, is it? Like, essentially one oligarchy replacing another, but it's seen as this great thing where these freedom fighters giving everyone the right to vote. People forget the context of the American Revolution. In Britain, we were a constitutional democracy. Most people didn't have the right to vote. I'm pretty sure America was similar after the revolution. I doubt it was every man and woman, 21 and older got the right to vote. I doubt even most people without land got the right to vote. If someone knows anything about that, tell me if you know anything about voting rights after the revolution. I'm sure it's pretty similar to the UK. So Kennedy saying Americans are taught a fairy tale in history class. Anzo saying, oh, hi Anzo. And Anzo saying every history book is particularly biased towards their own interests. America's pretty bad. Yeah, Japan is another one. Japan has a really awful one. Omitting the rape of Nanking and stuff. Pretty much denying they did anything bad in the Second Sino-Japanese War. Jeremy Gunn, do you believe the narrative that the MAGA hat is equivalent to wearing a KKK outfit? I think it's a similar thing because, Trump at this point literally represents... There's something I always say is that I don't think all Trump voters are awful, but I think all Trump supporters since, let's say, 2018 are awful racist people. You can't not be racist and support Trump because you have to be racist to be okay with the stuff he does. And the stuff with the migrant kids at the border, I know Obama and shit did this stuff too, but you have someone like Stephen Miller going on TV and saying it's a matter of policy to separate kids from their parents and shit like that, and that's racist, and calling these people animals, everything like that. There's no way you can't, you can be non-racist, because if you're non-racist or you're anti-racist, all this stuff, there's no way you can support someone who calling themselves a nationalist and inspiring all this hatred and stuff. So, people don't understand what racism is these days. I think racism literally is if you don't support segregation, that means you're non-racist, but it's not that. People think you have to be literally like, I'm never going to talk to a black person or some non-white person, and because Trump is mates with like Mike Tyson or some shit, that means he's not racist, and I have like one black friend, so I'm not racist. That's not what racism is. Racism is having opinions and stereotypes about a whole group of people. And normally what they do is, even if they have a non-white friend, they're like, for example, say a racist has a black friend, they'd be like, well, you're alright, you're not like the others, and that's basically it, because they think the other group, because they think the person that they know who's for a different colour is more like them, and that's why they like them, rather than them being a good representative of a different race. So reading some more comments. Izzy saying that it's more sugar-coated here in terms of the history. Rita saying Bernie will be a wonderful president. I can't wait for Trump to be gone. I hope so. I'm going to make a video, I think, about what a Bernie Sanders presidency might look like. So I think people might need to be a bit more realistic about what will happen, because America is such an entrenched oligarchy. I think Sanders might find it hard to get a lot of stuff done, especially when his own party don't really like him. So, Andrew saying a MAGA hat is basically a vape. If a KKK hood is a cigarette, kids think they're edgy and cool, but not hardcore enough to go all the way. Yeah, well, it's normalised racism, isn't it? So people can get away with wearing a MAGA hat because, America has normalised white supremacy by electing a white supremacist president for the first time since, I guess, the end of segregation and the civil rights era, because although most presidents have been racist, I can't think of a president who's been openly racist. Even people like Reagan and Nixon had to sugarcoat it and dog whistle, but Trump is pretty much an open racist. So, Kennedy saying my entire 9th grade English class was anti-communist propaganda too. Yeah, same with me, and it's kind of a smart way of doing it, because you're not necessarily teaching people communism equals bad, but by teaching someone communism and then teaching them about the worst periods of communism, like I was saying like in last week's live stream, why don't you teach people what communism is, and then talk about 1848 and the context communism was written in, and then not that makes people more sympathetic to communism, whatever, but then you can see where this ideology comes from and what it was built in, like what time period it was built in. A time of literally people working themselves to deaths in like mines and factories and shit like that, having no quality of life. That's the context people should learn it, not here is some weird ideology called communism, and now let's talk about the USSR and Stalin and Mao and awful people like that. So, more comments. Is he saying he learnt about what happened in Latin America and US history back in Brooklyn? Or at least he learnt about it. Veronica's saying same way they love socialism equals Venezuela. Yeah, I made a video about that as well. I was talking about how Venezuela is like a failed socialist state, whereas somewhere like Syria is a capitalist state working as intended, but people don't talk about that. Susie saying I'm going to get sicker if I don't get some sleep. Alex Jones is now the elite. Yeah, well, hopefully I get a full-time job next week. I'm waiting to hear back from an interview, and I've gone through an interview process the last month, which has been long, but hopefully I get it. But if I don't, I'm just going to bang out my YouTube a bit more, so I'm not going to get too disheartened if I don't, but also means I don't have to go to bed at normal times. Andy's saying, my American history class was downplaying how badly they botched overhandling Japan after World War II. Yeah, I'd say, to be honest, American history class, I think the Japan issue is too nuanced for people to talk about, like, whether talking about how much they rebuilt Japan after the war and what point they went wrong in and stuff, like, should they have held Emperor, or, why did they let Emperor Hirohito get away without being punished and stuff. But I get your point. Also, not talking about the racism in America towards Japanese people. That's something I made a video on as well, about the nukes and the way racism played into that. So, Rita also saying, they don't teach us enough in school. I'm only learning about Russia now in college because I'm a history major. Sorry about my coughing. They never mentioned anything about Russia before, which is stunning, actually. Would you care to expand on that a bit? Like, what are you learning about in Russia? Like Russian history or the USSR in particular? Or Russia in the 90s is an interesting one if we're talking about capitalism here. Sorry, just moving something. Here's some more comments. Kennedy saying Alex Jones is a despicable coward who can't even own up to being a grifter after he's been exposed. Yeah, I love the way he's saying he has like psychosis, and that's why he's been pushing conspiracies about school shootings. Izzy Sanchez Jr. saying Bernie is a democratic socialist. Bernie is democratic socialism, and that's different from socialism. We still have a capitalist economy, but some programs be socialised, like social security and healthcare. Yeah, that's just like Europe, but I think we actually did have some socialist prime ministers, like real ones. So Veronica asking me if I read The Economic Hitman. No, I haven't read that, but in terms of the IMF and World Bank, we did that a lot in my master's last year. So basically, the Arab Spring is a result of capitalism pushed on those countries by the IMF. So for those who don't know, what the IMF do is when a country is going bankrupt, they come in and they'll give you the money to rebuild your country, but they say you're going to start your economy the same as the US economy. So you're going to privatize most of your, companies, the ones that have been nationalized. So railways, oil companies, privatize them so US companies can come in and you can be compatible with the US free market. And what happens after that is it just creates an oligarchy. So, for example, when the USSR fell, the IMF came in, and it's called shock therapy. They tried to pump loads of money into the Russian economy and change it from a state-run, I guess in a way state-run capitalist, but communist system, and make it more a free market system. But what happened is they made Russia an even worse place to live than it was in the dying days of the USSR. So you talk about like bread lines and shit like that. It was even worse as the Russian Federation after the US came in and pumped it full of money. And that's why you have someone like Putin in control today. Because the American-style capitalism destroyed Russia after the USSR. I think it was like, at one point, they had like nearly a 50% unemployment rate. And what happened is you just got a massive oligarchy, entrenched oligarchy, who've all surrounded themselves, got into bed with Putin. He kills people he doesn't like, obviously, like even billionaires back in the day when he's purging people. And it's the same thing that's happened in Egypt and Tunisia. They pump loads of money into those countries to privatise the economy, make Western corporations rich at the expense of young people who then led the revolutions and stuff. So, yeah, IMF is just an extension of the American empire, which most people are unaware of, because also the IMF, even though it's American controlled, it's actually made up of many different countries supporting it. But the Americans set them up after World War in 1944, just before the war ended, to rebuild countries so they wouldn't become communist, but the way it's phrased in our history textbooks is that the US did this because they didn't want countries to become communist because they'd be like Stalin's Russia. But it's more that they didn't want free markets being closed to them. And that's the whole point of the Vietnam War as well. The domino theory is more about we don't want all these countries becoming communist because the economy is going to be closed to us. Whether, where we can fight in these countries and make them stay capitalist, that's better for us. So I'm going to read some more comments. Do I think corporate media already gave up on Beto because of Pete? Yeah, that's a weird one. I see them pushing Pete a lot. I don't really like him, to be honest. I need to make a video on him. But yeah, he seems like to be the new favourite. Someone wrote something funny that he reminds, it was like Pete has been written by Aaron Sorkin, who writes The West Wing. So I thought that was quite funny. So 1 second, I'm just going to get this cough out of my system and take my mic off quick. Okay, I hope we're good. So Jordan, do you know what the voting rights were in 1783, I think it was, the end of the Revolutionary War? I would love to know, because I'm trying to say that I'd imagine it would be the same as the UK back then, which means most people didn't have the right to vote. So Anzo also saying, Alex Jones is a moron who can't see the irony of calling out Democrats for all the wars they've started when he supports pro Republicans. Yeah, he supports Trump, doesn't he? Did Trump not bomb Syria just like he said he wouldn't do? And why you shouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton is because she's going to get you involved in Syria and get your kids killed in another war. And, sorry, I don't know if I'm sick or something. I don't know. I'm feeling alright. All these fucking annoying things in my body. Thanks for the donation again, Susie. Stop donating. Don't waste your money on me. But yeah, I really appreciate it still. So Laura saying Howard Zinn tells the history more truthfully. Yeah, I need to I need to read Howard Zinn. My girlfriend's read it and she said it's really good and sort of fits in with what I'm saying. I can't read his name probably. Terryage123. I just got here, but why did you title your video in that way? Well, I'm talking about why Bernie Sanders is popular. There is a lot of hatred for him in the country, isn't there? So, yeah, one sec, I just need to grab something. You can all look at my bed quick. Sorry about that. I'm just trying to get all this illness out of my system because it's affecting the way I'm talking. Alright, here we go. I'm back. Okay, here we go. Missed a lot of comments. So, Kennedy saying more and more right-wing pundits have been hinting at supporting a nationalistic form of socialism. Really? Where have we heard that before? Oh, nationalistic form of socialism. Well, National Socialism isn't real socialism, though, is it? Because I was arguing with some idiot on Twitter the other day, and he was saying Nazis were socialist. Nazis only used that to get supporters from the socialist movement and everything. So Susie asking everyone, has anyone read Democracy in Chains? She just started it. What's that about, Susie? Can you write a little summary, or maybe someone else who's read it? Mac saying, glad to see you keeping up to your streaming schedule. Yeah, I'm trying to do it like every Sunday. We'll see how it goes if I get a full-time job in the next couple of weeks. I will still do it on Sunday. Hopefully, I'll just change the time. But hopefully people can still tune in. Michael saying, I think the reason the younger people are more accepting of Bernie and social democracy is because they didn't grow up in the Cold War like we boomers. The younger people are hope for Bernie. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Like, if we're the first generation, or, a couple of us, some of us, kind of remember it, who weren't born with the Cold War fearmongering and stuff. Like, most of us were born after the USSR fell. I was born in 1995. That's a couple of years afterwards, so we don't remember any of that stuff. But we also don't remember all the ideological bullshit around the US winning the Cold War, which I think is another good point. So we don't necessarily think capitalism is great and everything. So Veronica's saying they're going to primary more of the corporate Democrats, and He's letting people know they will need a movement for change. Is he saying, as a Hispanic, I've been the victim of discrimination back in New York when they had to stop and frisk. Cops called me a derogatory term after they threw my stuff on the floor. Honestly, not surprising with racist police, but yeah, I'm sorry that happened to you. It was really awful. And we have a similar problem in the UK, to be honest. Like, police are still racist here. But the difference is they can't abuse their power as much because we have an independent police watchdog. So if you, for example, when you kill someone in the US, the police, there's a massive report into it and assessment by an independent group to check if you've done anything wrong, which the US could really benefit from, and having body cams as well. Veronica saying, unlike others, Bernie is making it clear that the change in the US will only come with a fight. Yeah, I think there's a massive pushback from the establishment, so it is going to be a big fight, and it's going to get ugly, especially, Jeremy Corbyn, I think, gets a lot worse than Bernie, just because he's smeared every single day by even people like the BBC. I think Bernie's going to have a tough time, just like Corbyn does. Jordan saying, right-wingers' favourite thing to say is America. Socialism has killed over 100 million people. If socialism has killed 100 million people, I'd love to see the numbers for capitalism. So let's just take the Nazis, right? The Nazis are capitalists. They killed 20 million people in the Soviet Union. There you go, there's 20 million. Started the biggest war in human history. So let's say the Nazis contributed 8 million deaths and they're the capitalists. World War One, Imperial Capitalist War, what's that, another 60 mil, maybe? So there we go. And then you've got the slave trade, and you've got the imperial wars, throughout history. If we're going to say socialism killed all these people, let's also say the Roman Empire, that was capitalist, Greek Empire was capitalist. How many people died in fighting between, Greeks and Persians, or Romans and the Gauls and stuff? So it's a disingenuous argument. It's a bad faith argument as well, but in America, it's so polarised. Everything's just a stick to beat each other with. It's stupid, but it happens in other countries as well. So looking at some more. Susie saying she's a boomer for Bernie, and most of her gang that she hangs out with are also, which is good to know, because most boomers, not most boomers, but most Trump supporters are boomers, aren't they? So Izzy saying, 2 times when I first moved to Florida, I stopped at a gas station and went to pay for gas, came back out, had a cake smeared on my back windshield with a derogatory term spelled out. Yeah, Florida's obviously pretty bad for that shit, isn't it? Because, they love Republicans, love Trump and everything. But yeah, I'm sorry that happened to you as well. American racism is obviously really, really bad and way more explicit since you have like a white nationalist president. Angie saying, rewatched Alex harassing Bernie at the airport, such a classic. Yeah, Alex Jones is just an insane man. Kennedy saying, it's crazy we can blame communism for authoritarianism when America, capitalist powerhouse of the 20th century, did the same shit and more. Yeah, the thing is, I think in terms of communism versus capitalism, I think the Vietnam War proves America has no ground to stand on, right? So 4 million people, 4 million Vietnamese people died in that war, 60,000 Americans, and plenty of other different groups. More bombs were dropped in North Vietnam than bombs were dropped in the whole of World War II. How do you justify a country revolting for unification and independence under communism? How do you justify dropping so many bombs on it, using napalm, Agent Orange, deforming people forever? Can you justify that at all? And then claim the moral high ground against communism when you've literally done that? Obviously a lot of you in this chat are American, and I think most of you are. So I assume some of you have either watched things like Platoon, Apocalypse Now, or read things like Tim O'Brien's work and stuff. And when you read about how nonchalant and how casual the killing of civilians was in that war, it's just, there's no moral high ground the US can take. It's actually awful, like reading about Tim O'Brien killing civilians, dropping just an airstrike on a village because they think there's a Vietnamese sniper in there and stuff. And it's just absolutely mental. Like, they completely destroyed that country. I can't believe, there isn't more bitter feelings between Vietnam towards the US, which is insane to me, because, Martin Luther King was right when describing the actions of the US, comparing them to the Nazis in Vietnam. Is obviously, I think it's the worst thing the US has ever done, and that's saying something. And I don't think, because of the media, I don't think enough attention has been paid on how bad it was. It's literally, I think, one of the worst wars in the last 200 years, maybe. Like, in terms of this just one imperial force completely destroying an army of peasants who literally were promised before the end of World War Two that the US would support their claims for independence and stuff. But then, the US helped France retake control of a lot of the country and stuff. So I think most Americans, Ronald Reagan helped in rehabilitating the Vietnam War, making it seem like as a worthy cause that was just, not fought properly in some regards. But no, it's just an awful imperialist war, and it's probably one of the worst imperialist wars ever fought. So I'm going to get some more comments. Let's have a look. Lee Alexander, the Bernie hatred exists within the political class and only when he's running for president, and it exists among the wealthy tax scooters. He's by far the most popular politician in America. Yeah, Lee, I agree he's the most popular, but I'm saying there's irrational hatred from him from normal people, not just, okay, obviously you can understand why wealthy people would hate Bernie Sanders, but I'm talking about working class people and even like working class Democrats. Like, I don't understand why there's so much vitriol towards him, and it goes to show how successful the elite in general, not just Republicans, have successfully brainwashed people to be against things that he talks about. Okay, Susie, but yeah, still don't waste the the $1 on me. But yeah, I do appreciate it. Kennedy, that's not I don't think you're incorrect. Bernie was probably a communist. I've seen videos of him praising Fidel Castro and stuff, which I'm not totally against, but I'm saying I think he's way more socialist when he lets on. And then he said he's not a capitalist when he became mayor in 1981, which was interesting. So yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he's a literal communist, but yeah, I definitely agree. He's more socialist when he lets on. Veronica saying anywhere there's new billionaires, more people will be starving. That's America's problem as well, glorification of billionaires, because every American thinks they can become a millionaire or billionaire if they work hard enough. And that sort of like keeps them from really realising, everyone else around them, poor people, working class people, middle class, that it should be them against the rich, not everyone against each other competing to become a new billionaire. But I think Americans, in their worship of capitalism, got their priorities a bit wrong. It's not just Americans, it's in this country as well, but I think it's more apparent in America. Kennedy saying capitalists coming in and buying up Russia was sauteing the blueprints for disaster capitalism we see it today in the Caribbean. I think it goes back, further than that. Africa, 70s and 80s, Middle East in the 90s and everything. It's always been like that, like destroying countries for the benefit of the US. So Anzu saying, no, Bernie's not a communist, that's just Western capitalist propaganda. They try to label anything that isn't unfettered, laissez-faire, free market capitalism as communist and Marxist. Yeah, I don't think he's an actual Marxist or communist, not that I would care if he was. But yeah, I think it is a bit of a smear. But also, I think when he was younger, if you read some of his interviews and stuff, it seems a lot more socialist than he lets on today. Laura saying, Pete was one of the banned superdelegates in Indiana who gave Hillary the state when Bernie got more votes. Yeah, I don't trust Pete at all. I don't trust most of the corporate Dems, to be honest. So Izzy Sanchez saying, I believe in 1783 it was the rich landowners allowed to vote, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Izzy, I'm totally not surprised if that's the truth, because that is the exact same in the UK. People didn't get the right to vote here, like more people, until 1832. And it wasn't until 1867 that a lot more people, like working class people, got the right to vote. And it wasn't until 1883 that most men over 21 got the right to vote. And obviously it's not till 1928 when everyone has the right to vote. So the fact that people think that George Washington and all his rich buddies, George Washington owning a massive, his family owning a massive estate and stuff, and all these people being really rich landowners, to think that they think all these people's main interest was getting the enfranchisement of working class peasants people is pretty crazy. And it just shows, the American history books and everything have just been so good at making the revolution something it wasn't. At the end of the day, it was rich people, like most of the New World. In South America, you had loads of revolts in the 1500s and 1600s because these people didn't want to pay tax to the country they came from, because they thought they were like, we came here, we should run things. and we shouldn't have to pay tax to somewhere we used to come from, but we don't identify anymore. That's what the Pizarro brothers did in places like Peru and stuff. So to think that George Washington and everything like that was anything different, there's some interesting things about their way of thinking. Like people like Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson obviously have some very interesting written ideas and stuff. But at the end of the day, I don't see how they are any different to the Pizarro brothers and people like Cortez and stuff. Like I don't understand. They literally want the same thing. They want to run their own affairs and not pay tax to the country they initially came from because they feel like there's no point, because what are they doing for them now when they're running things in their country and they shouldn't have to pay tax to somewhere they used to come from but have really no connection to anymore. Would I rather live in America or France? I'd rather live in France because it's, even though, well, I don't, my French isn't great. I read better than I speak it, but at the same time, I guess this is close by. The cultures are similar. Like France loves rugby and football, which I love as well. I think it's just a bit similar in a lot of ways, and also the societal makeup I think is very similar to the US. US, just a lot of stuff turns me off, like the food, the guns, the politics, the people. If I'm honest, like French people, I know they got a bad reputation, but at the same time, I think a lot of people in France might be closer to my own beliefs and everything. And I got some I know some French people and stuff, and it's close to England, it's close to Europe, close to places I like. The weather, I'd prefer northern France and stuff. And France got interesting history. I love history, so France, one of the oldest countries in terms of a lot of this historical stuff. So rather live in France. Michael saying, hopefully everyone will see Bernie. He's been saying for the same thing over 40 years. Yeah, that's funny because you can watch the videos of Bernie in the 80s talking about Ronald Reagan. It's literally like he's talking about Trump. It is super interesting how consistent he's been. And Susie saying Aaron Sorkin must have written Mayor Pete. Yeah, he definitely did. Andrew saying it's funny because the actual far-left socialists and communists think Bernie isn't left enough, because in a non-right-wing favoured overtone window, Bernie is very much a social democrat centrist. Yeah, I agree with that. I always say in the UK, Bernie, maybe he would show his true colours a bit more and be more leftist, but, the way he currently is, he'd just be standard person in the Labour Party. So, is he telling me ginger tea and a teaspoon of honey? Oh, that doesn't sound very nice. But maybe tomorrow. Jordan saying, originally in America, only property owning white men could vote. Yeah, that's what I thought as well. So it's very interesting to see how the history books have completely changed what the American Revolution really was. Veronica saying there's a Canadian blogger that made the same point about why millennials love Bernie. They came after the Red Scare. Yeah, it came after the Red Scare and came after this Fukuyama bullshit about the end of history and neoliberalism and stuff like that. Yeah, but Jordan saying hit the like button. Yeah, everyone hit the like button. Janusz saying hi Janusz. Anzu saying again, I feel bad for Corbyn, but I think the incompetence and dissatisfaction with May and the Tories will help him in the future. Let's hope so. Kennedy saying good. We should beat the like button. Mac asking me, would I prefer watching BBC on the telly or the Hub? What's the Hub? BBC do good programming in general. I wouldn't really want to watch BBC News too much though. Anzu saying the whole world is getting sick of oligarchies. Yeah, well, America seems to fetishize oligarchies. People like Trump is literally like the representative of that, and the fact he has so much support is crazy. And he's saying a lot of older white folk go to Florida to retire. That's why it's such bad shape politically. Yeah, I never really thought about that, but I guess that's true. Is he asking, isn't in Vietnam they have people disposing unexploded bombs? Am I right? Yeah, probably, but you also might be thinking of Germany, which does that regularly, and even the UK as well. But yeah, I assume because of the amount of bombs dropped on Vietnam, more than both England and Germany put together from World War II, I wouldn't be surprised if they're disposing unexploded bombs. They're also doing that in Colombia because FARC left a lot of landmines around, and in Afghanistan as well. So, Kennedy. I had to read Tim O'Brien for a class on war and philosophy last semester, but it was so heartbreaking. Yeah, Tim O'Brien, I like his work. It's really, really explicit, and his story is really interesting. How he wanted to run away to Sweden before the war because he was drafted, obviously, and he nearly did it, but then he just couldn't, like, face the shame of like going back home and not, of fought in the war and stuff. But it's super awful, like what he describes. Lee saying Republican voters are afraid of socialism and don't like Bernie because of it. The ones in his state are the exception because he has done so well by them. Yeah, that's interesting. Vermont's an interesting case. He was talking about how Vermont conservatives aren't like necessarily bad people. It's just like they hate the government, basically. Which, I don't blame. I don't blame some people hating the government sometimes. But you watch something like Deadwood, which is coming back. Is it 2 months' time? The movie, but just like how bad the government were, like, and how corrupt they were in like the 1870s. It's quite funny. So, Veronica saying you don't have to go back so far. I'm guessing talking about Vietnam. Look at the Collateral War video as leaked via WikiLeaks. I haven't seen that one. Is it the one about Afghanistan? At this point in history and all the data that keeps reaffirming itself, incremental change is not enough. We need a huge change like the 60s civil rights movement. Yeah, that's true, especially in America, which is so behind a lot of the Western world. You need, it might be radical to completely change the healthcare industry and stuff, but that's what you need these days. Easy, I'm not surprised that Republicans would throw out 50,000 votes. The election rigging in America is so crazy, but because it's so polarized and so, the groups are so polarized, it's literally become an issue between, one side. The Democrats are the only group that want to do something about it. Well, not the Democrats. I know the Green Party do as well, but like between the Republicans and Democrats, Republicans like gerrymandering and election rigging because it benefits them. Because, like Elizabeth Warren said the other day, the reason the Republicans don't want to help us with this is because they benefit from it. Oh man, Mac, that's too much. Stop donating every week, you madman. But yeah, no, I really appreciate it. Have a pint. Yeah, I will actually. Have I had a drink lately? I haven't had a drink since the first stream. That was 2 weeks ago. So I probably do need to get another one. But yeah, cheers, man. I did buy an American can of Monster Energy the other week for £5, and it hurt to spend that much in it because they don't sell this flavour really like Monster and iced tea. It's like 50 calories, and I really like it, but they stopped selling it here. I guess it wasn't popular. But yeah, thanks a lot for that money. I appreciate it. Susie saying I live in Florida and I'm a fifth generation native Floridian, so I guess I enjoy being an outlier. But Florida's sucked royally since before 2000. Yeah, I'm not too surprised with the way they normally vote and everything. Florida is pretty though, like Miami Beach. I've been watching a American Crime Story, and obviously Versace lived in Miami Beach, and it's just so nice. But also because played Vice City back in the day, and it's just kind of cool seeing the real life version. Yeah, nearly all the news stations are owned by the same type of people, isn't it? Like corporations and millionaires and stuff. So you're not really getting news; you're getting propaganda. Perny Sion, sorry I forgot your name on. Your support for the Surfs gained you a new subscriber today. Left Solidarity. Oh yeah, the Surfs. They've been super nice and stuff. Like they messaged me a couple of weeks ago before they got their channel banned, and were paying me some nice compliments and stuff. And then they got their channel banned, and it was the least I could do. And they've been asking me to collab and stuff. So we'll see how that goes. I think they just want to talk on a live stream or something, which I'm all up for. I just need to work out the logistics of it. Yeah, Matt Getz and Marco Rubio and they're such scumbags. I don't really know too much about Rick Scott and Ron DeSantis. Is Ron DeSantis that Indian guy who says he's tanned? So Ian saying Bernie is leading both Biden and Warren in Massachusetts in the latest poll. That's good to hear. And Ian, is your photo Super Hands from Peep Show? I think I think it is. Izzy saying, can I ask, have you been aware there's a division between progressive groups? Tulsi supporters are getting out of hand. Yeah, people like Jimmy Dore and Kim Irvinson, I think that's her name. They've been crazy about Tulsi Gabbard. Like literally, like any criticism, they're going mental about it. I don't understand where this has come from. It feels like it's come out of nowhere. Like I followed Tulsi Gabbard on Twitter for years and stuff, and I've always liked her. But there's legit criticisms of her and everything. But they're going mental about it. Like they've been so blinded by being so anti-war. Like they're criticizing Bernie. They're like, how dare Bernie go along with like the Mueller report or go along with the propaganda about Venezuela and stuff. Like they're being such like purists. Like Jimmy Dore and people like that were so on for Bernie like in 2016, and to turn on him in a lot of ways now. That's one thing that annoys me about leftist YouTube channels sometimes, like I was saying, Kim Evanson and Jimmy Dore and everything, is that sometimes they're so it's almost like hysterical. I don't want to say that too much, but like here's one thing, right? Kim and Jimmy both say the U.S. created the Islamic State, like ISIS, like the U.S. created ISIS. That just sounds like propaganda that racists normally use to say that Israel created ISIS. That's what it sounds like, because if you know the history of the U.S. involvement in funding jihadi groups, for example, right? So Kim was arguing with me on Twitter. We actually had an argument about this. She was saying that the U.S. personally trained bin Laden and funded him for years, but she backtracked. She kept saying the money they gave to other jihadis might have ended up in bin Laden's hand, but she said to me to start with, the CIA trained bin Laden, and I was sending her articles debunking it because the CIA never trained bin Laden. And the thing is, in the war with the Soviets in Afghanistan, basically there was the Mujahideen, which was mainly created by and funded by Pakistan, but bin Laden and another guy called Abdullah Azam, they were wealthy Saudis. They set up this organization to transport foreign jihadis from everywhere else in the world, like Egypt and places like that, and funnel them to Afghanistan to fight the Soviets, and they would get funding from Saudi billionaires and things like that. But that was called the MAK, and later it transitioned into Al Qaeda. And the thing is, they were never funded by the US, like because the Mujahideen were Afghani warlords, and later the Pakistanis would create the Taliban, and the Taliban would take over and everything, but they had nothing to do with bin Laden, and apart from they allied with bin Laden during the thing. And to say that the CIA personally trained Al Qaeda and trained bin Laden is so crazy. And like I said, it plays into all these anti-Semitic tropes that Israel and the US together created ISIS, because that is something you always see anti-Semitic people saying, "Oh, Israel created ISIS," and that's what it reminds me of. Sorry, just missing some comments. Yeah, that's truly funny how many people in the US fail to realise how many have killed in the service of capitalism. Well, since capitalism has been around, modern capitalism, let's say, since the 1750s, think of how many people have died under that, whether in economic conditions in industrialised countries or through capitalist imperialist war or everything. Yeah, it is getting a bit crazy, the argument. Cho, I don't really, or sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. I'd say it's hard to tell really with Brexit. I think a general election is likely, but Theresa May apparently and Corbyn are meeting to finalise a deal that will have a Boris Johnson lock, meaning Boris Johnson can't rip it up when he becomes Prime Minister, and it's kind of like inevitable Boris Johnson to become Prime Minister at some point, so we'll really see. Yeah, that's a good point, Andrew. Yang and Tulsi, I don't understand how they can't accept any criticism. Like, these people are both flawed, and that's okay, and you're allowed to support them still, but you have to acknowledge people's faults sometimes. Like, with Bernie, what can I think about what I don't agree with him with? People say the gun stuff sometimes. He's not tackling guns as well as I'd like, especially from a European perspective. But he's focusing on other stuff a lot harder than everyone else, so I'll give him a pass on that. I don't think he's necessarily awful on guns, but it's not, he hasn't really spoke about it, and obviously it's a massive problem. So Susie's saying that the book Democracy in Change is about the overlying plan the right has had going since the 50s, trying to limit the vote, limit the actual rights of black and brown people, also the changes that accelerated. Yeah, that's interesting, actually, and that's something I'd be interested in reading, because obviously, since black people got the right to vote, they normally lean left-wing, don't they? Because obviously right-wing, play their role in keeping them enslaved and oppressed and everything, so it's not surprising. But obviously they don't want black people to vote because black people will vote Democrat. Yeah, one of the they shot that Scalise guy, didn't they? To be fair, I'd say that's more just a nut job who happens to support Bernie rather than someone following Bernie's beliefs. Because if you follow Bernie Sanders, you're not going to go shoot a congressman. Roro, what's my thoughts on AOC? I'm not really going to get into it here because I made a whole video on it. So if you want, leave the live stream or watch it after the live stream and go check it out. It's called The British Take on Why AOC is the Future of America or some shit like that. So go have a look at that. It's a long video, so I outline all my thoughts on her. But yeah, generally I like her. I like her style a lot. She's pretty inspiring for someone so young. A couple of things I have problems with her, like she just voted on this package that, what did it do? It helped fossil fuel corporations and shit, which is ironic because she's meant, the Green New Deal and everything. So Kennedy saying that actually proto-socialist movements after the revolution led by veterans. Yeah, that's interesting actually, because if Washington and them lot, I haven't read any speeches during the war, but of course the Declaration of Independence talks about this equality sort of stuff. If in the America you've created as a veteran is then not, basically just like Britain, and, you were fighting against Britain, then I can see why, you would be upset with that. Bernie's not unpopular, Lee, which I said earlier. I just think because he's popular, there's a massive pushback against him. Like, people hate Bernie more than they hate, let's say, Kamala Harris or Cory Booker, or someone who's a worse candidate, just because he's popular. Yeah, Andrew, I can see AOC becoming president. I do like her style. Yeah, Mac, the food in the US is just crap quality because there's not a lot of food regulation as opposed to the EU. And going from my girlfriend's experience, she just said food in America was just really crap, like tasting, even though you got like nice large portions and stuff. So it puts me off a bit. Bean Jammin says, we aren't all bad in the US. Yeah, I know. Most of my subscribers are American, so I don't obviously think everyone in America is a bad person. I obviously like Bernie Sanders a lot, and some of my favourite parts of history are American. There's lots of inspiring people, whether that's people like, even though I'm a bit of a hypocrite because of all the stuff I said about capitalism, Bobby Kennedy I found really inspiring. What he said. I like a good evolution story, and I think Bobby Kennedy's pretty amazing. How he worked as a lawyer for Joseph McCarthy during his Red Scare shit, and then he's like talking about, why don't we legalize marijuana? This is in the 60s, by the way. Ronald Reagan He's basically saying, he said stuff about Ronald Reagan, which is super relevant to Trump, like why are we giving celebrities this platform when they haven't proved anything. Robert Kennedy is super interesting to me. It's really sad. He got killed and stuff, and I just love his evolution. He's like the anti-Trump, obviously comes from a really wealthy background, but at least he did, used it for good later on in his life. Izzy says he doesn't see Tulsi as genuine and voting for Bernie. Max saying it's funny I'm complaining about US food. I guess it's just, I don't know, British food is okay. I'm not complaining. But Americans, I don't know, but just the quality is bad. Like, part of the Brexit stuff is like the US want to give us loads of like chicken, but it's like really doesn't meet the standards of the UK, and that's a bad thing with Brexit. I don't want to be eating like fucking disgusting chicken when we leave the EU. Andrew's saying he's supporting really any progressive. Sorry, just reading some comments. Kennedy saying American pop culture fetishizes royalty and aristocracy. It's gross, yeah. Especially money is a big thing in America, isn't it? Like Donald Trump. You know, would anyone have ever taken Donald Trump seriously for president if he wasn't rich? They would treat him like the buffoon he is, and totally a total crazy person essentially. B. Stilwell saying all the Democrats are pro corporations. Yeah, most of them are, apart from Bernie, maybe a couple others. Yeah, Jordan thinks Yang's a trap. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest. I don't really like a lot of what I've been hearing from him lately, just about he thinks capitalism can be reformed, and I don't think he believes in regulation enough. Or he says a lot of the right things, which I agree with, but at the same time, you know, I don't like everything, especially his foreign policy. I don't like at all, like in terms of Israel and things like that. Sorry, I'm really behind the comments. What's the time? Shit, man, I'm really behind the comments. I'm gonna skip a couple. Izzy Sanchez wants a pint. Okay, Versace dies in this series. Yeah, he does. It's a really good series. I love the Ryan Murphy stuff and American Crime Story. I'm really looking forward to the Bill Clinton one and the Hurricane Katrina one. Sorry, yeah, I need to catch up on these comments. If I lived in America, I'd want to live in New York or somewhere in LA, maybe Seattle or something. Somewhere that feels a bit closer to England in terms of the politics, I guess. Alright. Bobby Jindal is a tan guy. Oh, okay, thanks, Mac. Alright. Ron DeSantis is the guy that runs with white nationalist supremacists. Oh, yeah, that guy who beat Andrew Gillum. Yeah, he's fucking scum. The monkeying around comment or whatever. So Kennedy saying Kim Evanston is super suspicious. She popped out of nowhere with such great... Yeah, Kennedy, that is weird, isn't she? Like, she was complaining on Twitter about her subscribers, and I was like, you literally got like 40k subscribers in a month, and you came out of absolutely nowhere, featured on the Jimmy Dore show. I was reading her profile. She I don't know if she looks a bit younger than she is. She's nearly 40, and she's worked in radio for ages. So she has a great voice, obviously, for talking about these things. But she's super, I don't know. I'd like her to start with, but then I was like, some of the stuff she's saying, I'm like, I really don't agree with this. And here's the thing I'd say to everyone, right? A lot of these people you like on YouTube and everything, they aren't actually technically like super well read and intelligent on everything. Like, I'm not like blowing my own horn, but I think sometimes being educated in stuff in an academic sense is really helpful. So I obviously did a history degree and I did a master's in international relations, and they're actually not in the same. So history is a humanities and politics is a science, and they complement each other really well. But the way, how much doing a politics master's changed my opinion on politics, I can't even stress that enough. Like, it nearly fundamentally changed everything I believed in, because knowing the history of it is super interesting, but like contextualizing that in theories and everything is really helpful. And I think a lot of these talking heads on YouTube, it's not what you go there for, but I think there is a danger of being misinformed by a lot of them, because they don't necessarily know what they're talking about. Like, talking about news all the time and everything, you get informed on the topics, but you don't get really informed on like the nitty gritty and the background and everything. So you can talk about Venezuela and everything, and you can talk about you don't want the US to intervene in Venezuela and stuff, but at the same time, there's lots of things that are quite disingenuous. Oh, you just don't know a lot. Like, I think Jimmy Dore was having a go at like some Venezuelan journalists who was talking about how bad it was there, and I'm just like, come on, man. Like, do you honestly think, where do you think you're coming from that you think you can just dismiss someone who's from Venezuela talking about the problems there? Like, it's a bit of privilege in my opinion, but there's lots of issues, like I was saying about Kim saying that, and Jimmy says this a lot, that the US literally created ISIS. Like, is insane to me, and it's insane they say this type of shit and get away with it. And even people like David Pakman and things, I think being involved in news and the news cycle, I think often can make people seem more intelligent than they are, but their knowledge, like for example, Jimmy Dore didn't know that there was a Northern Ireland and a Republic of Ireland. How can you be a 40-something-year-old man who claims to know a lot about politics, has a politics show? How can you not know there is a Northern Ireland and a Republic of Ireland when Bill Clinton was so important in getting peace in Northern Ireland. How can you not know he said he didn't even know what the UK was. He thought like the whole of the UK was basically just England. And he was like, oh, what's the difference? I remember they were talking about it. And I was like, and the whole panel he had, they didn't know what these countries were. And I was like, how can you be a political show with 500,000 subs and not know what Northern Ireland is? Like, I know I'm coming from a UK perspective, but because the US has such a connection to Ireland, and in particular in the 90s, Bill Clinton had such an interest in Northern Ireland. If you were following politics then as like a 30-year-old man, how do you not know what Northern Ireland is? It's just pissing me off. So yeah, these people do a lot of good work, but at the same time, don't trust everything they say as facts, because I don't think they know. And the thing is, what I think makes me different, for example, is although I do back my knowledge and things, like what I'm talking about, I will never start talking about stuff like I don't know about with absolute authority, which I think they do sometimes, because I think the sign of an intelligent person is realising when they don't know something and asking someone to tell them, not just giving an opinion because they have a voice and stuff. I think that's not always helpful. So, Veronica saying, I don't listen to Door. Door was hurt because Bernie did not start a third party. Yeah, he was. Veronica saying, I was recommending Kim to you 2 weeks ago and now I've unfollowed. Yeah, like, she does some okay stuff, but like some things I'm just like, I'm like biting my tongue thinking like, should I write something to her on Twitter again because we had that big fight about ISIS? I'm like, I really don't agree with what she's saying. Angie's saying she used to be on mainstream media, so she has a background. Yeah, not surprised. In journalism, Israel Violet in humour. Okay, Izzy saying he watches Pac-Man and TYT. Yeah, I watch both of them. Not as much as I used to. I do like TYT a bit more. The majority of Port and Karl Kalinske are better, says Jordan. Yeah, Kennedy saying should be interested in who funds Kim's shows and everything. Sad Brit was Saddam Hussein trained by the CIA. You're not getting it confused that Donald Rumsfeld met Saddam Hussein when he was fighting Iran in the 80s and sold them weapons and shit? Or was he legit trained by the CIA? I'd find that a bit weird if an Arab socialist was trained by the CIA, since they were so anti-Western. Yeah, Ansley, they're good. Secular Talk, Humanist Report, Rational, National. Even though I don't watch them a whole lot, I do like them. Yeah, Izzy saying she came out of nowhere, has 33k subscribers, yeah. Thoughts on Mike Gravel's run. His Twitter account is funny, but it's not run by him. But I like what he's saying. Jordan, yeah, but he's not even a bit strong on guns. Like, background checks, I don't know if that's enough. Sad Brit, I don't know about that if it was the United States government who did 9/11, but I do think the United States government capitalised on 9/11. Like in Vice, you see Dick Cheney basically just planning his next move as the towers go down. Yeah, Yang Gang seems to be filled with a lot of alt-right people, Veronica. It seems a bit weird. So Tyler saying, there isn't a Bernie Sanders nationalism that people follow and commit violence. A nut job is different from a concerted, violent right-wing ideology. Yeah, that Scalise thing has nothing really to do with Sanders, and yeah, how many terrorist attacks have been done, or like attacks have been done by Trump supporters? Sorry, I'm just reading some comments, trying to catch up. Yeah, Izzy Sanchez Jr. I made a video about the Second Amendment last Saturday, was it? Talking about how it could be interpreted as the militia could be, still a militia today, or the police, or yeah, like you're saying, the National Guard. Who's the worst American president in history? Herbert Hoover. People in the comments, write who the worst American president is. I'm gonna go for, well, historically people say it's Ulysses Grant, and then probably some unknown guys that I've never heard of, and then in the modern era it's probably George Bush, Trump, Reagan, Nixon, so all Republicans basically. I don't know who's worse though. Reagan is really bad. Nixon's really bad. Trump's really bad. Bush is really bad. I actually can't pick. Wait, who wins in the face-off? I'd say George Bush Jr. probably wins, to be honest. So everyone write in the comments while I just catch up with some comments. So Tyler saying, the media doesn't like Bernie because there's never been a moment in history where the upper middle class bourgeoisie backed genuine leftists. So a few instances. Yeah, in the modern era, definitely not. I agree with you. Yeah, it's a selective reading of the Second Amendment. That's actually the repeal of the Second Amendment. Meg Paul, I don't know how many times are you told you look like Jon Snow. Then I shut up about it. I've never been told that. What is annoying me, people keep saying I look like Post Malone because of the beard. My sister says it as well. But I actually look nothing like him. It's just the mustache bit, I think. But yeah, no one's ever told me I look like Kit Harington. That's a new one. But yeah, is it a compliment? I guess it is. Jordan saying he's been holding back and telling me I look like Jon Snow. I really don't look like Jon Snow. Also, I hate Game of Thrones. Even though I know everything that happens in it, I've never actually watched it. I'm too much of a hipster. I just got to watch Mr. Robot on my own. Everyone who enjoys talking about what we're talking about, please watch Mr. Robot. Like, that's what my profile picture is based on. I got the mask and the t-shirt. Please watch it, and you'll love its commentary on 2010 capitalism and stuff. It's so good, and it's just such an entertaining show. Rami Malek is so amazing in it. So, Inner Mind's Eye asked me why I have not given any attention to Tulsi Gabbard. Just because I'm finding it hard to find out all her positions and stuff. Loads of people have been telling me to make it, but I'm trying to, because I don't script my videos right, and I just take in the information and I give them my opinion, and I'm just finding it hard to find a lot of her policy positions apart from being anti-war. So if someone has a good article, maybe link it in the comments or something. Jeremy Gunn is asking about volunteering for Bernie. If someone can help him out on that, let him know in the chat. Someone telling me our food chemicals is why it's so bad, the US food. Okay. And Veronica saying chicken washed in bleach. Yeah, that's one of them. Is it chlorinated chicken is what I'm thinking of. Alright, let's catch up. Sorry if I skipped your comments. I'll try and read them all, but let's go down. Yeah, Rora saying Kim said some Islamophobic things. Yeah, apparently on the podcast someone was saying she said some really racist shit about Muslims in general. Lost. Sorry, I'm really behind on my comments. David APAC, man. Is David funded by APAC? Kim Harrison hates APAC, man. There's some beef. Yeah, okay, Jimmy Dore does kind of own not knowing a lot of stuff. I guess that's true. David Dole, The Rational National. Yeah, people say that I'm the English version of him. I like Dore for comedy. Yeah, Jimmy Dore's prank calls are so funny. Whoever does the voices of those celebrities is so good. It's actually hilarious. The one he does, the Tony Soprano voice for Chris Christie, I love those so much. All the fucking Vince Vaughn prank calls are so funny. Yeah, okay. Maybe I was too harsh on Jimmy, but still. Yeah, Tyler, just keep at it though. With the videos, it can come through sometimes. You have to be a bit clickbaity. I found. Like, I've got a bit of a gimmick going with my British take on whatever, because that seems to be popular at the moment. But I don't mind doing it, because I like making those videos, but I made it as a one-off, and now I'm making it into a series, so... Yeah, TYT is good. TYT got me into American politics. And they're pretty open about their bias, which is good to know, because, you know, don't seem very, like, seedy or anything. So... Okay, we're going to the worst president now. So, Reagan, Bush, Trump and Nixon, Andrew Johnson. That's a good one, Tyler. You know, that's probably what I say the biggest thing with Lincoln being assassinated is that Reconstruction was so bad under Johnson. So Obama, DZ, are you serious? Obama's the worst president. Come on, no way. Not saying he was great or anything. Reagan, Little Bush, Obama. Oh, I'm seeing some Obama here. Oh, yeah, okay. Obama was most disappointing. He was not the worst president. You can't compare George Bush. You got 2008 financial crash, Iraq War, Afghanistan, 9/11, and Hurricane Katrina. Trump is bad, but he doesn't have stuff like that. And Reagan is also really bad, but he doesn't have stuff like that. I think Nixon might be one of the worst because he promised to end the Vietnam War, and half the casualties, US casualties in Vietnam, happened after Nixon became president because he escalated the conflict. So I think Nixon gets off a bit lightly sometimes. Oh my God, no, I don't look like Jon Snow. Honestly, look at a picture of Kit Harington and look at me on stream. I do not look like him. Not that I wouldn't mind looking like him. Mr. O was a good show. Yes. Son of a gun. Game of Thrones is good. Yeah, but because it's so mainstream, it just really puts me off. Like, is there a second season of Mr. Robot? Yeah, there's 3 seasons now. They're filming the 4th one at the moment. 3rd season's amazing. I've just on my rewatch of it. I love it so much. Favorite show ever. That it goes Mr. Robot, I don't know, Boardwalk Empire, then Mad Men. Then I got a list somewhere, but then a couple others. They're my favourites, and they're all set in they're all set in New York, which is weird. But that's how much I like American culture. And my favourite films, like I said before, Blade Runner 2049, Her with Joaquin Phoenix, Drive by Nick Griffin, and yeah, I think that's it. And then the New World and The Thin Red Line. They're 2 of my other favourite films. But yeah, most of my favourite films set in LA. Favourite TV shows set in New York. So keep going for the comments. Let's see. All the books are good. The Game of Thrones books. Yeah, I've been really bad at reading. I think just doing 4 years of university, especially history, really put me off reading. I read a really good book in the summer though, because I love history. It was called The Medieval History of the World. I've talked about this on the stream before. It's literally a book that goes through nearly every major country through 1100 to 1500 and talks about all the history, and it's really interesting. The only countries I kept skipping were Sri Lanka and sometimes India, but like it had Japan, had England, had France, had all these countries. Even had some Aztec stuff, which was really cool. So, or wherever came first, the Mayans. Aztecs were the new ones, weren't they? Like, they only existed for a couple hundred years. Yeah, TYT does do a lot of good stuff. I agree with people. Trump's got Puerto Rico. Yeah, Trump's got Puerto Rico. That'll be his Katrina. Obama is the best president since Carter. Well, objectively, I don't think either are particularly good presidents in terms of what they achieved, but at least Carter got peace between Egypt and Israel. And, you know, I said before, peace between Egypt and Israel, one of the best foreign policy achievements in US history, I'd say, because, you know, the amount of hatred between those 2 countries, amazing, they got peace. Andrew Jackson, because of the Trail of Tears, yeah, I see that as well. Veronica Reed saying Obama and bombed a lot more black people and ramped up the drone wars, made it all look cute. Isn't that what Americans always do, though? Make imperialism look like you're fighting for freedom, I guess. William Henry Harrison was terrible, couldn't serve a 10th of his term. Why couldn't he serve a term? Did he die or something? Tyler saying, thank you, I don't discourage. I actually do YouTube for fun and I feel compelled to push back on the hate, make it a full-time thing. Tyler, if you have read it, post your stuff on BreadTube. That's what I've been doing the last month and it's really helped. And target subreddits that you think might like your stuff. And that's what I've been doing for the last year. And it helps really get your videos blow up. Because my video yesterday didn't do like amazing or anything. It has like 1,000 views, but it did pretty well on BreadTube first. And then my video last week about Biden got 5,000 views, and I posted it on BreadTube before, and it sort of blew up and everything. So honestly, Tyler, try it on there. It's a good strategy. Do I like Peep Show? Yeah, Ian, I do like Peep Show. That's why I recognise your your profile picture being super hands, the crackhead. Yeah, Anzu. Free government shutdown, that of course were right wingers, instantly forgave and forgot. Yeah, exactly, man. Like all that money not paid to all his workers and stuff. You know, it's like Newt Gingrich when he shut down the government in the 90s and stuff. mental person. Hey, Christy, Santiago, you're a history nut as well. Yeah, that's good. I love history so much. Probably one of my favourite things. History and politics. Nice blend. Politics is a bit more annoying just because I prefer looking at things in a historical context. Matt Berg, is that a joke? Are you a member of the British National Party? The BNP, literally like British fascists. They, in my lifetime, they used to sit in Parliament, actually, the BNP. They had one seat, but then they got voted out, thankfully. But UKIP have kind of taken up the mantle of the BNP. Oh, Izzy, that's so cool. Most of the places they film Mr. Robot are places you used to go. Yeah, it's going to be so surreal when I go to New York one day, seeing all these places I used to love. Christy, are you saying FDR is the worst president ever? I hope you mean one of the best. Well, objectively, I think he's one of the best in terms of historians. Like, they consistently rank him one of the best. Miriam says, Cenk from TYT has been spreading the Russia bullshit for way too long. Yeah, but he does make some good points still. Like, I don't think Donald Trump's clear of the Russia shit, to be honest. Like, it is well suspect. Like, not necessarily that the Russians, like, got Trump elected, but the stuff with, like, the banking and the funding and shit, I think there is some dodgy shit in there. Laura says, Nixon was a crook, but he did go to China. Yeah, but he also, invaded 2 more countries in Indochina. And he got another, like, nearly 30,000 Americans killed in Vietnam, so I wouldn't really let him off because he went to China. Okay, in a mind's eye, I'll check that out. I'll come back and get your comment. Wait, let me see. Oh, actually, I've opened it now on my phone. All right, there we go. I'll check that out later. Do I agree that letting the Russiagate conspiracy live in the corporate media is a threat? I'm not much of a Russia hater as everyone. Like, I definitely think there's some shady stuff in there. Like, I don't agree, like, Trump's, like, the Manchurian candidate and stuff, and, like, Russia are pulling the strings. But it is super shady. Like, come on. He hires Rex Tillerson as Secretary of State, who was the CEO of ExxonMobil, who had a Presidential Freedom Medal from Vladimir Putin himself, and then he tries to get the sanctions lifted, and then he won't sign the Russia sanctions into law. Like, okay, I'm not talking like Putin is literally telling Donald Trump to do these things, but isn't that way fishy? You're hiring a CEO with close ties to Russia who wants to get the Russia sanctions lifted. You're hiring him as your Secretary of State, and then you're not implementing the Russia sanctions. That is just super fishy, isn't it? Like, for someone who's meant to be so tough on the US's enemies, I don't know why he's not so tough on Russia. Although I don't believe in the conspiracies like Rachel Maddow and stuff talk about, but I do think there's some really shady stuff with Trump and Russians in general. Oh, okay, Meg Paul. Yeah, it's no problem at the moment because I ain't got a full-time job. I'm just freelancing, so I can stay out late. Red Tube, no Mac, bread tube, not the porn site. This channel is my new favourite. Oh, thanks, Christy. Keep up the good work on your channel. I checked it out yesterday. I was watching your live stream for a bit. But yeah, it's good stuff. Everyone in the chat, check out Christy Santiago's channel. I don't know if she's commenting still, but just go have a look. She does some good live streams. So yeah, everyone go check that out. Anzo saying the Russia thing really irritates me. There's like 2 separate camps. The entire thing was either entirely wrong or... Yeah, that's another thing about Jimmy Dore that's pissing me off, and people like him. It's like Trump has never done anything shady, and there's nothing wrong with him in terms of, like, dodgy shit. And because they didn't find any collusion in the Mueller report, which no one has read yet, and not even Trump has read, he said, and they're not releasing it to the public, how can you be sure it clears him of everything? Mueller might say the extent of my investigation was this, and this. I didn't investigate all this stuff. And that Trump Tower stuff with Don Jr., come on, that stuff is so suspect. There's no way you can just see what's happening in the country being like, not that Russia interfered, but Trump broke the law is the main thing I'm trying to get at. Not that Russia is controlling him, is that he is dodgy and broke the law in regards to Russia, whether that's from business deals or whatever, or like some sort of history. So yeah, I don't think even if Mueller absolved Trump, I don't think it absolves him of being fucking corrupt and dodgy anyway. Nah, is he? Trump is not worse than Bush. I can't. Iraq war, right? What's that? 4,000 American dead, half a million Iraqis. ISIS come around. more terrorist attacks in Europe, like even stuff that's personally happened in not personally, but things that happen in London and everything lately. Like Trump is worse. Not Trump. Bush is worse. He unleashed this whole new wave of Islamic terrorism on the West and stuff. Your stuff you're saying about Trump is bad. Puerto Rico, tax cuts, and the border shit. That's all awful, right? But Bush, come on, Hurricane Katrina, it's so bad. But then you have the financial crash, Afghan, Iraq. How many people have died as a result of all this stuff, man? Like, Trump don't compare. Trump is an extension of Obama, just gone insane. Like, he ramped it up hard. Yeah, I do know Abraham Lincoln was a Republican, but I also know the Dixiecrats, the racist Democrats, they switched to the Republicans after civil rights. So people saying the Democrats were the racist ones, yeah, they were the racist ones, but then they all joined the Republican Party, you idiots. FDR is the best, yes, Christy, that's what I thought you were saying. Trump isn't the worst yet. Yeah, I agree, Jordan. Sorry, Izzy. Bernie is more than FDR. Yeah, I agree with that. Tyler's going to New York. Hope you have a good time if you go there. JFK second. Christy, I'm not sure about that one. I do like JFK as an Irish person, but I prefer RFK. I think the second best president, it should go FDR, then Lincoln, maybe. And people who say Theodore Roosevelt is not the best president, I don't know what people are smoking, man. Like, imperialist, racist president. Like, even by the standards of the day, he was pretty racist. I know people said he worked better with black people, but what they believed in and everything, the American establishment, like we did about American racism at the turn of the 20th century, it's crazy racist. It's like what the Nazis believed in. It's not surprising the Nazis were inspired by the US. Yeah, breadtube, community of leftists. Yeah, Abraham Lincoln was the best according to historians. Abraham Lincoln, FDR, they switched them around. And George Washington, people say as well. Is our Diet Coke made with that stuff? Honestly, I'm not sure, Miriam, if our Diet Coke is made with that stuff. I don't think so. I never heard of those things. Yeah, Manafort was done in by Russiagate, wasn't he? Tyler saying to rank the presidents, the best stand is the amount of suffering they cause and lasting impact of their decisions. Well, then the lasting impact, I guess you could go for Reagan. Literally, his ideology, the Christian conservative movement he inspired, literally has destroyed America, hasn't it? So, yeah, forward like Nixon off, so lame. Agree. Trump is more shady with Israel and Saudi Arabia than Russia. He's shady with all of them. I don't know who's worse, though. Yeah, Veronica, yeah. The people who... I can't understand. I think that they're so... People disregarding the Russia stuff are so hopeful of being just told they were right all along. They're like, yeah, no collusion, no collusion. It's like the Red Scare all over again. Come on. It is so sketchy. Every good American president also did genocide. Jimmy Carter? I'm trying to think of that one. He did back dictators, but was he responsible for genocide? Yeah, we need to see the full report, says Ian James Chapman. Yeah, Tyler, it's funny. I think it's just how polarized the Russia issues became that they letting them off the hook and everything. Yeah, Tyler, I agree. It is crazy. The Jimmy Dore position on it is crazy to me, to be honest. Like, you know, I think that's why, I don't know. Sometimes anti-establishment people can go so far anti-establishment. It just like it even a lot of the people Jimmy Dore keeps retweeting this reporter from Syria. And he thinks Christian, but she's really pro-Assad. And I'm just like, why are you retweeting someone who's so pro-Assad? Because they're anti-US, or tweeting someone who's pro-Maduro? I was like, you can be anti-US, anti-intervention, and not be pro-Assad and pro-Maduro. I don't know why that's such a hard position to take. but I think he gets so wound up in his anti-interventionism, he starts supporting people who back these dictators because they're anti-intervention as well, but they're anti-intervention because of their own interests rather than being anti, US wasting money and lives intervening in the Middle East. Yeah, Mac, I think Trump could be worse. He's damaged America's image the most, I think. Yeah, and I agree. There's a lot to catch up on. Yeah, and Ian, I agree. I don't understand the victory laps by Jimmy Dore and others. Yeah, and it is an ego thing. It feels like it's like they're so, want to be proved right. Tyler, I don't think Bush was evil. I think he was worse. Trump is legit like evil, I think, but Bush was just so dumb. Like Vice is so funny when like Dick Cheney has a meeting with Bush when he's about to run for president. It's just like so stupid. Obviously, you don't know how much is true, but all right, Meg Paul. I guess you've tuned out. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a good week as well if you ever see this. And we had a little game of French chat. Yeah, we did. Yeah, Carter, El Salvador, the worst thing probably did probably. Good night, Meg. Oh, everyone being nice to Meg, that's nice. Theodore Roosevelt lovers are vapid centrists that love hunting and stuff. I think there are probably loads of Republicans who love him as well. Okay, yeah, he was racist and less racist than Woodrow Wilson, but at the same time, I don't really get the hype for him, to be honest. Yeah, go to bed, Veronica, if you want to. I'm probably gonna stay up a bit later because me and my girlfriend bought so much McDonald's because have you seen those things called mukbangs? I've still got some left. Those things called mukbangs. I got 20 nuggets. We've been wanting to do one for ages, and I've been so good with my eating, but we bought so much McDonald's today, and I felt so sick. I had to nap before this stream. So we got like 20 nuggets and like 3 Big Macs or some shit. Oh my god, it was so bad. I felt so sick afterwards. Mike says Mike Murray does the voice on Jimmy Dore. So good. I can't believe someone can do Liam Neeson, Vince Vaughn, Tony Soprano, Obama, and all these voices so well. They're actually amazing. Like he could bring up people and actually legit, but you'd think it was them. The Vince Vaughn one is crazy good. Yeah, Veronica, go off if you're tired. I'm drinking coffee as well, so I'll probably be alright. I'm probably not going to go to bed till 6 a.m. I've still got another 2 hours. George Washington was a terrorist. Yeah, maybe a terrorist of native people. Jeremy Gunn, I don't know if that's... The possible future president would be able to take advantage of the program Bernie will create. I'm not sure about that one, but the thing that Bernie's done is he's completely changed the conversation, and people like AOC have been able to become prominent because of people like Bernie. And hopefully, if Bernie doesn't win, say Trump wins again, or Joe Biden becomes president, Bernie's legacy will be people like AOC who will hopefully, people like AOC will become president one day because she's so popular. And that's something Bernie's paved the way for. And, when these people all die out, like, think about how old the establishment are, like Pelosi, Clinton, Biden, they're in their 70s, most of them. And when they go away, who's the party left to? Hopefully, people like AOC, Ilhan Omar, people like that are going to rise for the ranks and take over. Yeah, Andrew, I agree. They spent a lot of money pushing the Russia collusion thing, like basically saying Trump was a Manchurian candidate. Chol, who's the best PM in the UK history and who's the worst? The best Prime Minister, in my opinion, is a man called William Gladstone, Prime Minister 4 times. And like I said, I like a good evolution story. Gladstone started his political career in the Tory party and he actually voted against ending slavery in the 1830s. But then before he died, he was the #1 politician pushing for Irish Home Rule. So basically, Home Rule was when a country controls your own internal affairs, but the British Empire still control your foreign policy and some of your trade stuff. So Canada, Australia both had Home Rule, but Ireland didn't. But that's what they wanted before they started pushing for independence. So this is in the 1880s, and Gladstone was the main person pushing for it. He also created he was like one of the best chancellors we ever had. Like he was such a smart guy in terms of mathematics and stuff. And he, prime minister 4 times across like 40 years in politics, and his theory was country before party, which we could use today, and he did do that because he resigned several times. He resigned over this island stuff and everything, and I really respect that. There's other prime ministers people argue. Is it Pitt the Younger, who was our prime minister during the Napoleonic Wars? What to start with? Clement Attlee is another one. Created the NHS, created a lot of the social programs. Robert Walpole was the first prime minister. I'm pretty sure. I don't think he's the best one. Who else we got? Let me think. In modern times, if the Iraq War didn't happen, I think Tony Blair would legit be remembered as one of the best prime ministers. But because of the Iraq War, everyone fucking hates Tony Blair. Who else am I thinking of? So people like Disraeli, but he wasn't a great prime minister. But he's a very interesting character. He was Jewish, but he changed his name. His name's Disraeli, so it has Israel in the name. But he converted from Judaism, obviously because people hated Jews back then. But then he became prime minister. But he was like this sort of House of Cards type character. He just so opportunistic, but he was really, really interesting. But yeah, my knowledge of prime ministers before 1800 isn't very good, to be honest. But before 1800, the monarchy had a lot bigger say in our politics. With Queen Victoria's reign is when the Parliament really took control away from the monarchy, really. I know we obviously had the Civil War where we killed the king and everything, and then that changed the dynamic, but they still had a lot of power, the king. So sorry, I've been slacking on the chat. Yeah, Jimmy Carter is responsible for East Timor. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, May and Cameron, two of the worst prime ministers in the last 50 years. Definitely agree. Tyler. Max Blumenthal, The Inner Mind's Eye, is kind of a weird one. I don't always agree with his stuff on Venezuela. Michael Tracy, yeah, he is annoying. He just pops on my Twitter sometimes. Maggie Thatcher was garbage too. Carter was underrated. I don't like the FDR-Bernie comparisons because Bernie would never throw anyone in camps like FDR did. That's true. Chapman says Bush Jr. was horrendous. Rushgate. Sorry, catching up. Yeah, he confuses anti-US with pro-human rights. Yeah, that's what Jimmy Dore often does. Bush Jr. was a puppet for the GOP. He was also a puppet for Dick Cheney, obviously, and Rumsfeld. FARC in Colombia. FARC surrendered a couple of years ago, didn't they? I wouldn't be surprised if Venezuela were backing them, because FARC are communists and, Venezuela are socialists, so I've been eating McDonald's, yeah. Well, yeah, I've been drinking coffee. I woke up at 11, and it's been a sort of long day, but don't eat that. Well, I've already eaten loads of McDonald's, sorry. Yeah, Wilson had some good qualities, but a lot of shit as well, especially his imperialism. The US was the only country in the League of Nations to vote against a racial equality clause, and then they didn't even stay in the League of Nations. Jordan's drinking Jack and Coke. Yeah, well, it's 4 a.m. in the UK, so I probably shouldn't be drinking alcohol. He got itis after eating so much. Yeah, Tyler, I can understand the stuff with Sam Harris. I don't necessarily hate Sam Harris. I actually have his book over there. I haven't read it. I've got 2 of his books. But I get like the sort of pipeline they can get people into. But I don't necessarily disagree with everything he does. But it's more when he's talking about other stuff. Like I like his religion stuff and Hitchens as well. But obviously Christopher Hitchens supported the Iraq War, like full force support for it. So there's a lot of things. And I made a video about what I disagree with Harris and Hitchens on, is basically saying like, if Iran ever got a nuke, they're just going to start nuking the world because of their religion. But I'm saying without the context of political theory and thinking about people being humans, obviously the leadership of Iran aren't going to kill themselves with nuclear weapons, let's be real. If they're going to get to paradise in terms of Islam, why can't they just wait until they die of old age? They're literally going to destroy the world. That's not going to happen. So some weird things that Sam Harris and stuff push sometimes. So yeah, AOC working for Bernie, we'll talk about how much we like her. Kennedy saying, yeah, well, that's good then, Kennedy. You know, if you not knowing much about politics before 2016 and then becoming like an activist and everything, I think that's good. That Bernie's inspired a lot of people. UK's response to 9/11 is that we joined the US invading the Afghanistan, but that was most of NATO as well. But we also invaded Iraq, which I guess was a response to 9/11 because they painted it as a response to 9/11, even though it wasn't. That's good, Anzo. You always consider yourself a capitalist. I said in my last stream, everyone's a hypocrite sometimes. It's hard to reconcile what you are because, you know, while you might agree with a lot of Marxism and socialism, you might not disagree with, you know, the way they want to set up the economic systems and stuff, which is fine because you can't just stick down to one ideology. You know, you're not literally Karl Marx, are you? You know, there's lots of things you got to read and everything, and you have different viewpoints. So Harold Macmillan almost lost World War Two. Macmillan wasn't Prime Minister in World War Two. Think about Chamberlain. You butchered Ilhan-Omar's name. Pitt the elder was a Whig, the younger was a Tory. Alright. Whigs and Tories are pretty similar, to be honest. Not exclusive, you know, not totally similar, but the Whigs became the Liberal Party, mostly. Oh, your name is Israel, is he? That's interesting. Yeah, Tyler. So the law in 1832 is we had a movement called Charterism, which was like more working class people pushing for the right to vote. So instead of having to own property, you had to earn a certain wage to get the right to vote. So it enfranchised a lot of middle class people. And then in 1867 we had another Reform Act, which enfranchised a lot more working class people. Then in the 1880s we had another one, which enfranchised most men. And then obviously in 1918 we gave women over 30 the right to vote, and in 1928 we gave pretty much everyone the right to vote. So, but 1832 was the start of modern electoral reform in the UK. Yeah, Neville Chamberlain almost lost World War II. Sam Harris. Sam Harris has a soothing voice. Sam Harris is a cringe sandwich. Yeah, Andy, good one. Right-wing logic associating Omar with 9/11 terrorist attack equals fine. Calling out APAC lobbying and government corruption equals anti-Semitic. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Tyler, no, I totally agree. Like, his anti-Islam stuff is kind of weird. Like, the racial profiling stuff um, is bad. Like, he says a lot of good stuff on religion, and Hitchens does too, and Dawkins as well, but some of their bashing, it almost gets to the point of it's less about Islam as an ideology and it's more about racially profiling Arabs, which I don't always agree with. I don't always agree with. Of course, I don't agree with it, but I mean, like, there's a bit of nuance sometimes between Islam and Arabs and stuff. It's not exclusive, and a lot of the time people tend to paint the Islamic world as one thing. Like in my view, the main thing in the Islamic world is that to some extent all Islamic countries are against atheism, against women's rights to an extent, and against homosexuality, and that's enshrined in law in all Islamic countries. But to the extent to which they are against those things is obviously very different if you're in Egypt, for example, compared to Saudi Arabia or Iran or something. So it's very different, you know, wherever you are. But I think the nuance can be lost a bit. Like you talk about the Islamic world, you don't talk about specifically which Islamic countries. So the Whigs became the Republican Party in the US. Okay, I didn't know that. But yeah, the Whigs became the Liberal Party. The Liberal Party got crushed by the Labour Party in the early 1900s, and then the Liberal Party became the Lib Dems. Labour Party sort of took over their old voters and everything. Hey Wes, oh thanks, you love my shows. Hey Cav, who wins North Carolina, I think, between Trump and Sanders? Honestly, I'm not too sure. If it's North Carolina, I'd say Trump, but we'll see how Bernie does. New atheism is so frustrating because it places class analysis with religion as bad. Yeah, it does. I agree with that as well. Do I agree with felons getting the right to vote? That's a hard one, actually. I don't think so, but I think they shouldn't be. I think in the US you get disqualified from voting when you come out of prison, which I don't agree with. But felons getting the right to vote, no, because then it would be this weird thing. Like, say you have people in prison for like 30 years or 20 years, and you're trying to. Will there be people going to prisons to try and appeal to prisoners, being like, oh, "I'll give you like a better deal when you get out of prison and stuff"? Do you know what I mean? Like, is that what Andrew Yang is doing with his dividend, saying, "I'll give you $1,000 free"? Who knows? But yeah, I don't think prisoners should have the right to vote, but I don't think they should be disqualified from voting when they get out. Jordan, that's interesting because most people, when they're insulting me about English, being English on YouTube, especially when they're butthurt about me talking about American politics, is they say, enjoy your Muslim rape gangs, enjoy Sharia law in the UK. Like, they literally think that happens in the UK. I went to school in one of the most non-white areas of the UK, right? To think that's like Sharia law, like, and rape gangs and patrols going around and stuff, no-go zones, is absolutely mental. It's not like that. It's pretty chill, to be honest. Like, I went to school. It's near Heathrow Airport, which is the UK's biggest airport and stuff. And lots of Indian people, lots of Afghani people, lots of Pakistani people, Muslims and everything. It's fine for the most part. We did we did have someone who joined ISIS who ran the local chip shop, but that's about it. So Christy's saying, I love Harris, Hitchens and Dawkins, especially in the anti-magical thinking. Well, yeah, I agree that I think them three, they have a lot of interesting things to say, and there's a reason they're popular. They didn't get popular because racists wanted an excuse to hate Islam. Do you know what I mean? Like, a lot of these people became popular before that was a big deal, especially Hitchens and Dawkins. So I think that they do say some weird stuff now, but I don't think everything they say can be completely thrown out. Read Blumenthal's book, The Management of Savagery, How America's National Security State Fueled the Rise of the Radical. Yeah, that's interesting, actually, Inner Mind's Eye. I'll check that out. I'll have a little look into it. Yeah, Tyler, that's a good point about Sam Harris. Is it the Great Replacement? Is that what white nationalists talk about with Islam and stuff in terms of Arab people? Cholo, I haven't heard of Thomas Sowell. I'm sorry. Yeah, Christy, I'd like to have a chat as well on history. I'm pretty busy at the moment, but if you follow me on Twitter and give me a message, we'll try and sort something out. The only thing with me is that I don't have great equipment for stuff. Like, I'm doing this all on my iPad at the moment. I don't have a webcam on my computer, which is quite annoying. Andrew's saying Bernie is going to smash Trump. The only problem is the Democratic primaries. Yeah, exactly. We have to wonder what's really going to happen there. Is it the same as 2016? Christy's saying all humans who have served their time should be able to vote and have representation. Again, I 100% agree. Yeah, I just don't think people in prison should have the right to vote, but when they're out, they all should. Yeah, Izzy, that's a good point, and it's crazy people like Trump push that myth that like Muslims were dancing in the street as the towers fell. It's just mental, and it's like a racial stereotyping of Muslims. Like, just because they're Muslims, they'll support Islamic fundamentalists blowing up towers. And also, let's say, for example, I'm sure New York has a pretty sizable Iranian population. Why would Iranians be celebrating the Saudi backed terrorists bombing America? Do you know what I mean? It's just like a racial stereotyping of Muslims. Well, Veronica, if you're like a murderer in prison, like, I don't understand why you even need to vote. Say you're in prison for 40 years and stuff. I don't know. I think it could quite create a weird scenario about appealing to like the prison vote and stuff, like felons and who've been in prison for ages. Because America does have is it the biggest prison population in the world? But I can definitely see the argument why you wouldn't. But I'm not like passionate about getting people in jail the right to vote. But I would be passionate about getting people the right to vote when they come out of prison. In Scandinavian countries, people never lose their right to vote. even when they get locked up. Oh, that's interesting. Sorry, my chat isn't loading. I'm missing the new comments. Alright, get open. Sorry, I missed a couple. Alright, here we go. Ian asking me, how would a hard border between Northern Ireland and Ireland work if no deal Brexit happens? Well, the thing is, part of the Good Friday Agreement is acknowledging that Northern Ireland is pretty much going to join the Republic of Ireland one day. Like, it's the right, you're recognising the right of the Northern Irish people that they want to join the Republic of Ireland and become one country, right, want to unify. Putting a hard border on Northern Ireland means you're not recognising that anymore, and you're basically saying the Northern Ireland will permanently, forever, be a part of the UK. And if that happens, a lot of shit will happen in Ireland again, because the whole point of the IRA fighting in the 70s, 80s and 90s in Northern Ireland was to basically get Ireland unified and get the British out. But with the Good Friday Agreement, it's basically everyone stopped fighting each other, and we recognise the right of the Irish people through political means to push for the unification of Ireland. So Sinn Féin, or Sinn Féin as people call it, I don't know what the right pronunciation is, I should though. They're the second biggest party in Northern Ireland. They're basically the political wing of the IRA. And they, if in the next election, if they get 2 more seats, they will become the government and party of Northern Ireland. And they said if that happens, they will call a referendum on Irish independence, on reunification with the Republic of Ireland. But putting a hard border stops that political process, and it might lead to loads of shit. So I doubt it's going to happen, because people don't want to reopen, a war that killed so many people over a number of years, including a lot of British soldiers as well, and a lot of British civilians. So, yeah, and so that whole stuff with the internment camps is crazy. Like, there's a good show called Man in the High Castle, and there's a lot about freeing the Japanese from the internment camps when the Japanese conquered the west coast of America. But it's interesting. Yeah, Jordan Fade, like the stuff about white nationalists infiltrating the army and the police is pretty crazy. Yeah, and so I think the rise of Trump is helping facilitate and spread white nationalism in places like Germany, Holland, England to an extent, France. But France has always had its fucking problems. It's such a racist country, like especially in terms of its relationship with Arabs and Muslims. Oh, someone's going off. Pernition. Oh, you're probably gone now, but thanks for tuning in. Tyler, you live in North Carolina. I think Bernie can win here if he convinces poor people to vote for him. Let's hope Bernie has that sort of appeal to people, even though they're Republican. Christy's saying she'll take me however she can get me. Well, yeah, we'll try and sort something out. I'd be happy to come on. Trying to collaborate with a couple of people. Like the Surfs want me to come on with them as well, which would be good. So let's see what else we got. Yeah, and I think the internet's played its role in radicalising people into the alt-right. Let's get a bit faster. Norway is where they give the prisoners the right to vote. Norway also let Breivik have a fucking PlayStation 2. It's super liberal, isn't it, in terms of its prison system. That's just an interesting show about redneck culture coming from Middle England. No, I never heard about that. I'm really bad at reading books, to be honest. Like I said, I'm so burnt out from university, from all the reading we had to do. So, yeah, I know that, Andrew. I don't know if that's the same thing. Puritan culture had a lot to do with traditional conservatism. Because, oh, I missed that. See you later, Kennedy. Thanks for tuning in. Right there. Yeah, religious nationalism also came from the people who fled England because they were too crazy even for Cromwell. But yeah, it was definitely interesting. I'm here. Veronica's here to the end. All right, so how long have I been streaming? Oh, coming up to the 2 hour mark. So if anyone has any more, I'll do a couple more things. So if anyone got any topics or got anything they want to ask, get it in the chat quick, and we'll talk about it for a bit longer. Let me check the time. So it is now 9. Oh, it's 11:30 in New York and Miami and Washington, and it is 9:30 in California, I think. So yeah, let's go. Last bit. Oh, someone disliked my chat. Did I see Bernie's rallies today? No, I didn't, but a tiny town, a population... Oh, that's crazy. 230 out of 287 in the whole town. Do I think Trump is scared of Bernie? Yeah, I do, to an extent, because I think Bernie doesn't have a lot of flaws to exploit, like someone like Biden, and he just talks a lot of sense, and I think he appeals to a lot of people just based on his economic arguments. Oh, it's 10:30 in Jamaica. That's not as bad. Did you see the Joker trailer? Yeah, I liked it. I think it'll be good. I like Joaquin Phoenix a lot. Stephen Fry does some great things on the stupidity of Brexit. Yeah, Stephen Fry's a bit weird. He makes some weird comments, but he generally seems like a good guy. I like his religious talk, but I haven't really heard him talk about Brexit too much. America is the way it is because the undesirables of England came to America. Yeah, I can't argue with that. Well, Captain John Smith, he's super interesting. One of my favourite films is Terrence Malick's The New World, and Colin Farrell plays John Smith. Christian Bale plays John Rolfe. But that's like the original Settlers, but that's sanctioned by the Crown and stuff. It's obviously called Jamestown after King James I. But yeah, a lot of the other people, especially like in New England, that came over later on, like mid 1600s, just after the Civil War, or late 1600s. A lot of crazy people. In Tampa, it's 11:25, or a bit later now. Okay, it's getting late. So, is Theresa May worse or better than Nancy Pelosi? That's a really hard comparison because Theresa May's been Prime Minister for 3 years nearly, and Nancy Pelosi's head of the DNC or whatever, or the head of the House, isn't she? So, yeah, I don't know, to be honest. Theresa May's worse because she's Prime Minister, probably. Cut from the same cloth, I imagine. Alright, get your last questions in. We'll give it 5 more minutes. But yeah, this has been a fun stream, actually. I was super tired before, and I was like kind of dreading it after eating all this McDonald's. I was like, oh shit, I do have to stream. But I was like, I'll keep it up. I'll keep doing it every Sunday for now. Maybe I'll switch to a different day when I actually start working full time. But yeah, it's been fun. Fun doing it. Always have a lot of good comments as well. Because I always come with a topic, and I'm like, okay, I need one thing to talk about in detail, and then I start talking about it at the start. But then I get so many comments, I don't ever finish the original thing I was talking about. So people are going to click on this tomorrow, and they're going to be like, oh, he's talking about Bernie Sanders. He's talking about why everyone hates him, and then it's like you watch for like 5 minutes, and then you don't. You see, I'm not even talking about the same stuff anymore. Yeah, I did catch up with the chat eventually. I was so far behind. It's because I try and read most of the comments. We are a great audience. Yeah, you are so engaged. I was happy. I had like 34 people watching. Crazy. Oh, this guy. All right, everyone look in the chat, right? This guy called Joe Tezio. He's been trolling my videos and commenting loads of insane shit. I might have to, I don't know. But he's trying to be a bit rational now. Joe, you're not a Democrat, man. Come on. Don't lie. You've been saying loads of shit on my videos. You're no way you're a Democrat. Joe, you've just been trolling me the whole time on my video. You literally have subscribed just to troll my channel. I know, there's loads of people like you. Oh, Anzo, man, thanks for the donation. Oh, no. The Praga you made a British Empire vid. I don't even want to watch that. Stuff like that just pisses me off so bad because it's so factually inaccurate and just glorifying horrible things. Joe, man, yeah, you might not like Bernie, but you literally say stuff like you're a Trump supporter on my channel. Like, you literally just say the same talking points. I forgot what you were saying, and you just pop up sometimes, and I'm just like, this guy. But I'm not going to ban you from my channel, because I've had worse, but I see through your charade, man. Saying, you know, you don't like Bernie, but you're a Democrat, but you literally have the same talking points as a Trump supporter, so, you know, you're one of those types. Most Democrats are Republicans. Yeah, I agree with that. Republican light. Bernie's more like FDR. What a great topic, though. Yeah, it was a good topic, but at the same time, never really get to finish my thoughts. The Praga U vid is so garbage. Oh, I hate people making videos like that are so just so inaccurate. And as someone who has a history degree and loves this stuff, I just hate it. Oh, Jordan, man, and Izzy, this is too much. Don't give me your money. Thanks for $2. No, I really appreciate it. Honestly, like, obviously I appreciate the donations and everything. But just watching and commenting is really enough. Olivia, yeah, I haven't seen you comment, but thanks again for the donation. Yeah, because obviously I know, you know, there's creators I wish I could support with money and stuff, and I know it's hard. So yeah, I do really appreciate all these donations and everything. It is too much. Don't buy McDonald's with it. Yeah, okay, I won't. This is one time, like, I've been dying for junk food for like 2 months. I haven't had a takeaway since January, since I was really ill, and I've been dying for it. And then my girlfriend just kept postponing it, and then I just had to eat it today. But now I never want to eat junk food again. So, you know, I don't. I won't be spending it on junk food. But yeah, I appreciate all the donations. It's really, really too kind, to be honest. And most people who say they have a Democrat are the same talking points because they listen to mainstream media. Yeah. Yeah, Christy, yeah, exactly. I had a couple, but some of them were Nazis, so I had to ban them because I put my channel in my CV when I apply for jobs. I don't want them to come on my channel and just see, like, Nazis commenting, like, because like, I don't moderate my channel. Ever talk with a Trump supporter? That would be interesting, but I think it would make me want to smash my head against the wall. I watched that David Pakman video today where he's getting called by, like, a really drunk Trump supporter, and that was funny. The Rational Voice, what issue are you right-wing on? I don't know. Sometimes foreign policy, in terms of as politics being like an international chess game, but not really, because I'm still anti-interventionist. But like I support. Okay, here's one. I support the UK having nuclear weapons. There's one. That's my right-wing political belief. Joe saying he'll vote for Bernie because Trump is cancer. Yeah, but man, but why you literally? I know because I remember you when you popped up. You are writing Trump supporting stuff, like, not explicitly, but you're saying talking points about Trump on my videos. That's how I remember that who you are. We tip people in America. This is the cup of coffee equivalent. Oh, thanks. Oh yeah, tipping culture in America. That's what I should make my next video on. It's crazy. Takeaway is great. McDonald's is not. I tell you what is a rubbish takeaway. Thai takeaway and Vietnamese. Oh, so disappointing. Chinese is good though. If you need it for the cam. You need it. Yeah, I'd invest all this money in a new camera maybe. I don't know, Tyler. Once you're making big lawyer money, save it. Save it for your own channel, man. Buy some own buy some of your own stuff for your channel. Don't waste money on me. Nah, like, if you can spare the money, whatever. I feel bad accepting it, to be honest. Obviously, I can't reject it, but yeah. In terms of YouTube, my YouTube's doing good in terms of money lately, for the first time, but not loads. Cho, you asked some interesting questions, man. But Republican Party, is it like the DUP? That's a good comparison in some ways, but also the context is really different because the DUP is literally the Ulster Unionist Protestants who the whole point of the political party is keeping the union with the UK, but they're also really anti-science, anti-climate change, anti-abortion, proper Christians and stuff. So that's a good comparison that you can say between them. But at the same time, DUP, the context is so different. Literally, like English settlers, well, that's their ancestors, English settlers in Ireland. So, sorry, Joe. Sorry, I missed a couple. My chat wasn't updating. Careful with Pac-Man. He's not legit though. Yeah, I don't love Pac-Man, but I still watch some of his stuff. Republicans are close to the Tories. No, Andrew, and for everyone in the chat, your Democratic Party are like our Tory Party. The Republican Party are just like nuts, like insane. Republicans wouldn't get elected in England, really. Democrats and Tories, they're the same, essentially. Most of them. Obviously, people like Bernie aren't. They don't tip in England. Yeah, they do. You tip about 10%, maybe less, if you want. But if you don't tip, that means you haven't had good service, really. Thai takeaway. No, I'm not a fan of Thai. I like Chinese, just chow mein. Destiny is awesome. No, I don't watch Destiny, but you see that guy had the stream with AOC? Oh, that's interesting. After Destiny's destroying the alt-right. There's a lot of small... Yeah, that's true in terms of religion and politics. But the thing in Northern Ireland is religion is normally a stand-in for political allegiance to either Ireland or the UK. So if you're Protestant, even if you don't believe in the religion, you're Protestant because of your allegiance to the UK. And if you're Catholic, even though if you don't believe in religion, you say you're Catholic because of your allegiance to the Republic. So, Wooly saying, oh, Jeremy Corbyn. That stupid song. Yeah, I like Jeremy Corbyn, though. I wish Destiny was far left. Yeah, Pac-Man's a centrist, really, isn't he? But he's alright sometimes. Republicans like UKIP. No, UKIP are racist, but Republicans are just insane. Like, I don't think people realise how like utterly insane Republicans are in compared to mainstream European politics. Like, there's no equivalent of the Republican Party in the UK because they're just crazy. Like they're so stupid and so fanatical about religion and stuff. It just doesn't exist here. Like, you can obviously say DUP might be a similar example and stuff, but the thing with the thing with Republicans to me is like they're like hysterically insane, like they're over the top and just crazy, along with being awful people. And in the UK, it's all more subdued. So even if you get horrible anti-immigrant crazy people, it's not the same as like the Republican Party in America. Bernie Labour. I don't know if you mean like Bernie's like the Labour Party. His brother is in the Green Party though. Bernie Sanders' brother. He ran for MP in 2017. Green curry. You know, we're talking about Thai. I always tip 25%. Oh, that's way too much, man. Oh, that makes me shudder. 25%. But it's because in America, your service industry or the people working in restaurants are paid so shit, aren't they? Rely on tips, which is stupid. Like, pay them a better wage. He smeared Tulsi. He's back in Bernie. That's good. Bernie over Tulsi any day. Cho. Come on, you know that. Lincoln became party of Trump because all the racist Democrats switched to the Republican Party, the Dixiecrats. There's a reason Texas hasn't elected a Democrat to the Senate since Johnson, because Johnson passed civil rights. Cintron. That's good, man. Hey, you become more liberal. I don't know how old you are, though. Hopefully you're young. Christy saying, I live in the south and I'm as far left as anyone I've ever met and I'm alone because of it. Yeah, that's annoying. that happens, I guess, in that culture. But at least you're not alone in terms of the country. Like, imagine if you lived in a country that was just like the South. Like, lots of the world are very conservative. So at least you have some solidarity with others in the country, and you can find some like-minded people. Yeah, dig at 88. That would be funny. Can you imagine Trump taking PMQs every week? Christy saying the vice president of the USA is a young Earth creationist. I don't think people really comprehend how fucking bananas you have to be to believe the world is 6,000 years old. Yeah, Mike Pompeo and all that like apocalypse bullshit as well. Insanity. Like that's how different our politics is from America. That would not fly in the UK. You cannot be like religion is so taboo in this country. Like I remember. So there's a party called the Lib Dems, which used to be the Liberals, which the Liberals used to be one of the biggest parties, but it's pretty small now. And he was talking about how his religion makes him not believe in gay marriage, and talking about how his religion informs his politics, and he was literally like hounded out of UK politics. Like he had to resign in disgrace as leader of the Lib Dems because of it, because people just were not having his. And in terms of the US, that's pretty tame, isn't it? Like being against gay marriage if you're Christian and stuff. But he was literally like hounded out of office because it's like this does not fly anymore in the UK in terms of being like centrist or liberal. You cannot be Christian like that. Ooh, sorry. Um, Greens in England, Ian James. That's interesting, actually. So the Greens in England are actually the fourth biggest party in terms of. Oh, sorry, man. The Greens in England are actually the fourth biggest party, but because we have the parliamentary system, it means they're not represented properly. So I think if we had proper representation, it would be Tories, Labour, UKIP, Green Party. But instead, it's actually Tories, Labour, Lib Dems. No, Tories, Labour, SNP, which is the Scottish Nationalist Party, and then Lib Dems. That's the order, and that's not the makeup of the vote. So, like I'm saying, UKIP and Greens get about 3-4 million votes each, but they're not represented properly because of our parliamentary system. And there's benefits to having a parliamentary system, but people are saying there is a different way of doing it. I haven't really looked into electoral reform in that regards, but it's quite annoying to be honest. In some ways, I'm not entirely sure on the proportional representation. If that's what I've just described, but no, I don't think actually UK doesn't have proportional representation because that means the number of votes equal the number of seats. That's not how it works. It's you have a district, so I have a district, which is pretty much locked down by the Tories or Lib Dems. Like, the only people who can win in my district are Tories and Lib Dems, even though there's other seats in running. So if I vote Labour in my area, it means shit, really. There's no point voting Labour in my area. So if I want to be anti-Tory, I vote Lib Dem, because voting Labour is pointless, because Labour can't win here, because it's just the makeup of our district is very centrist. Are men dumb? Humans are dumb. What's taking Barry Goldwater? Honestly, I don't know enough about him. Goldwater conservatives. Radicalise your centrist friends, please. I've tried. My friend, went to Cambridge. He ain't buying it, man. Christy saying, I wish we could shame all these dumb magical thinkers right out of office and put candidates in who understood and believed in scientists. Yeah, America is particularly anti-intellectual, and Christianity has a large part to play in that. Just the rejection of the science behind climate change is crazy, and it's mixed in with being an oligarchy and being a fundamentalist Christian country as well. How many total parties are there in the UK? Mainstream ones, I'll list them off. So you've got the Tories, you've got Labour Party, you've got the Liberal Democrats, you have the SNP, you have Plaid Cymru, which is Welsh, you have the, who are we talking about? The Ulster people again? Shit, I forgot their names. The DUP, you have Sinn Féin, who don't take their seats in Parliament out of protest the British government because they're the political wing of the IRA. You have the Green Party, you have the British Nationalist Party, you don't have any seats. You have the UKIP, who don't have any seats. There's a couple of other ones like Christian Democrats and shit. Like there's loads of parties that don't have any seats, to be honest. The Raven Monster Looney Party or something is like a protest party as well. There's many, but the ones that you gotta keep your eye out for is Tories, Labour, Lib Dems, SNP, and that's pretty much it, because they're the ones who control Parliament. But you have other ones like the Welsh parties and everything. But each country in the UK has its own parliament. So Scotland has its own parliament, Wales has its own parliament, Northern Ireland has its own parliament, and they have their own governments there. But then we have one big parliament as well, where everyone comes and sits. But like I'm saying, some groups like Sinn Féin, who have 10 seats in parliament, they don't come to Westminster because they're protesting the British government because they're Irish Republicans. So that's how it works. Humans are dumb. US has been a winner takes all. Oh, okay. Interesting. Moderate is centrist, true progressive to the left, yep. Yeah, the Dixiecrats all joined the Republicans, didn't they? Or the racists joined the Republicans. Because the Republicans went racist. Yang wants to privatize and deregulate. Yang is a trap, yep. Alright, see you later, Izzy. Cheers for tuning in. Cheers for the donation and everything. Appreciate your comments, everything. And appreciate your support on the channel, thanks. For, all the comments on the videos. So I do notice people who regularly comment and everything. So Andrew Yang. Yeah, Andrew Yang is decent, but I just don't trust him, really. Alright, see you later, Anzo. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the donation as well. So the dissident, Big Oil donates school books in some areas of this country at praise fossil fuels. Man, that's so crazy. Would America be better off with Parliament? Who knows, really? It streamlines the process, I guess. We have the House of Lords, which is kind of outdated, but they don't have real power. It depends. Because the good thing about parliaments is you can have elections. Like, how it's meant to work is, like, we should have had an election on Brexit, like, a couple months ago, but we haven't, because it's not working, the system at the moment. So, if you keep having a deadlock in Parliament due to votes, you then take the issue to the country and have an election on it. So then, people will vote in the candidates who support their stance on the issue, and then that's how you break the deadlock. That's how it should work, not how it is working at the moment, because the Tories won't call a general election because they're scared of losing. Yeah, Christy, I agree. Republican Party is antiquated, Democratic Party is centre-right. Well, they're both the same, aren't they, in a lot of ways, in terms of their supports for war, Wall Street, everything like that. Just some of the social things are a bit different. Yeah, Cintron, I agree referendums are bad for some issues. Like, Brexit shouldn't have been a referendum because it's way too fucking complicated for a yes or no answer. It's a trade bloc, but it's also different because, it's like a union of states where you can have free movement and freedom to work everywhere. That is pretty unique. Like NAFTA is like a trade bloc, isn't it? Like, NAFTA is an economic agreement. But that doesn't mean you can just move from Canada to Mexico and through the US and use the same money and just work there without like having to get a visa and stuff. That's EU is way different in that regard. So how can you have a yes or no answer on that? It's totally stupid. The EU is made up of so many different things, like trade agreements, different trading partnerships and agreements, and money like the euros and everything, which we don't even use in the UK. And then that freedom of movement. It's so different. Yes or no answer is so stupid. Get money out of politics and you change everything, says Digger. Yep, that's the main problem, isn't it? America's, politics is broken by money, essentially. The rational voice. I think you're kidding yourself, man. The Democrats support social justice. They're the party for Americans. Some Democrats, most Democrats, no. Most Democrats are like Republicans. Wait, if Democrats nominate Joe Biden, how can you say they're the party for Americans? The party of gropers and racists, maybe, because Joe Biden's history is so awful. Yeah, Chrissy's saying Bernie's the future for the US. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's interesting. That's what I'm saying. NAFTA is for trade, not for labour, and that's why it's stupid to have a referendum on the EU, which is so much more than just a trading bloc. Come on, rational voice. I thought you were rational. How would you pay for Bernie's ideas? Slash the military budget by at least a quarter, tax billionaires and millionaires way more, make corporations pay their fair share of tax. It's not actually that hard to save money, especially when you spend so much. Oh, yeah, stop giving Israel $4 billion a year for military assistance. What's that all about? The UK didn't join. I don't think it needed to join the Civil War, but there was a lot of support for the Confederacy in some towns because of the cotton industry, which was used in a lot of the textile industry in the UK. Rational voice, what are you on, man? Wars are far less expensive than Medicare for all. What, you think the war on terror, how long has it gone on for? Nearly 20 years. You think 20 years of constant war, non-stop, and Trump getting a massive military budget is more expensive than Medicare for all, which the Koch brothers' own study says would be cheaper than the current US healthcare system. How is that unaffordable? Tax cuts for billionaires, never-ending Middle Eastern war, that is unaffordable. Rational voice, you're not very rational, man. You're just a democratic shill, it sounds like. Biden didn't grope women, they were planted by Bernie. Biden's been groping women for about 10 years, man. How do you not see that? I'm not planted by Bernie. Joe is more rational than you, man, and he's basically Republican. Yeah, Veronica, I agree. It's all rich people in Parliament. Well, it's different in our Parliament. Labour definitely, Labour politicians are not rich. Jeremy Corbyn makes 100K a year, but that's just his salary from being a politician. He doesn't have any other income besides that, and he's the leader of the Labour Party. Like, Nancy Pelosi is probably absolutely loaded, isn't she? Rational voice, you're crazy, man. Your channel is actually not that good, to be honest. I know I checked it out, but your opinions are bad. I don't know how old you are. You look pretty young, so hopefully you change. How can you say there's enough money for constant war and money to give Israel, a really rich and powerful nation, $4 billion a year, but there isn't money for a healthcare system that would be cheaper than the current one? How does that make any rational sense, rational voice? It doesn't. Yeah, everyone's saying Uncle Joe Biden is yuck. He's racist, sexist. Voted for the helped create the Patriot Act. Voted for the Iraq War. You know, Biden is literal scum, man. Yeah, Biden. You know, whether his intent is sexual in him being a predator, he's still abusing his power to make people uncomfortable. Yeah, my girlfriend. I was asking her today. I said to her because I've made 2 videos on Biden, right, and I've got a bit of pushback from some like Democrats. And I was like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "I'm pretty sure if I was a manager at McDonald's and I did what Biden did to women several times, I would be fired on the spot. I would be reported and fired. So why is someone who would get fired at working at any other job for his inappropriate conduct even thinking about running for president, let alone all the shit he supported as well?" So it's just ridiculous. It was ridiculous to think it's okay what he's done. Like, how is sniffing and kissing people, like, in public, abusing your power as vice president because they're not going to call you out? Crazy. Biden's the most progressive. You've got to be joking me, but Biden is less, least, he's less progressive than fucking Trump. Nah, not that, but like, you know, Biden might as well be a Republican. He's riding off the popularity of being in the Obama administration. He got crushed by Obama and Hillary in 2008. Everyone, hey, rational voice must be trolling, man. Why is he neoliberalism? No, the thing is, Veronica, I don't think he is a troll because he's commented on my videos before, or he's basically been spamming his own content, asking people to go on his videos. I don't know why. Rational voice. Why are you on my channel asking people to watch your videos if you fundamentally disagree with everything I'm saying right now, which is like the core of my channel? I don't understand why you want people from my channel to watch your content if you're literally talking about how great neoliberalism is and how great Joe Biden is. Yeah, but why do you want us to watch your content? Like, why would people who are anti-neoliberalism and anti-Biden want to come watch your content if you're literally supporting both those things? Why would my audience be interested in that? Yeah, here's the constructive advice. Your political takes are really shitty and they're not even based in facts. Medicare for all is cheaper than the current privatized US healthcare system. So why are you arguing that it's more expensive than 20 years of foreign wars and it's more expensive than the current model? So that's some constructive advice. Base your rational arguments in facts. And if you think Biden is good, just look at his record. Are you insane? Who cares if he's likable, which he's not, sexual harasser, and his record is awful. And have you not seen that video of him in 1993? While Bernie Sanders is defending gay people and standing up for minorities, Biden is talking, basically saying like the super predators thing. Your channel is debunked. No one go on his channel because it has not debunked. He's made like 3 videos and he hasn't debunked anything I'm saying. Everyone, attack Rational Voice in the comments. Alright, if he's trolling, no one click on his channel anyway, because I don't like bad faith trolling. Don't give him the attention. Every first world country has single payer healthcare. Even Cuba has single payer. I think it just has socialized healthcare like the UK. I don't know if that's the same as single payer. Because all this stuff's confusing me. Like Elizabeth Warren and Beto saying different things, and I'm like, but saying they still support like healthcare for all. I'm like, is this what's the differences between them? Like, I know there's like Medicare buy-in and shit. Like, it's confusing because they're using so many different. Universal is single payer, and it's single payer like the UK, where you just pay a national insurance tax and then your general taxes go into it. Is that what it is? Something like that. So the UK, you pay your national insurance and you pay tax as well. Rational voice, okay. If you're being serious right now, I don't really, understand. Your channel's not going to go anywhere because who's going to watch your content if you don't base your opinion in facts for one thing, and you're literally just towing the line that everyone. Like, people don't come on YouTube to watch Democrat, party hacks talk about how great Biden is. No one does that on YouTube. That's not what YouTube's for. You can go to CNN to watch that stuff, and I don't think CNN are going to give you a job. YouTube come for anti-establishment people a lot of the time, and whether that's right or left wing, that's what normally people like on YouTube. So you got like your Alex Joneses who are crazy, or people like more anti-establishment than that, more mainstream versions, or you got people like Jimmy Dore or TYT who are anti-establishment. They're the popular things on YouTube because people come to the internet to get voices they can't hear on mainstream television. If you're defending Joe Biden and neoliberalism, you might want to go on MSNBC and CNN, but they're not going to hire you because your takes aren't even good. And your voice is quite ironic. Okay, I didn't think he was trolling. He must be trolling, man. Okay, rational voice. I'm just going to stop responding to your comments now. And if I see you on my channel again, you don't want to know what's going to happen. So Beto trying to fix the Affordable Care Act by adding a public option buy-in. Okay, that's dumb, man. That sounds like what Hillary Clinton wanted. Always lightly sleeping. Just found your channel today and I love it. Thanks for all your content. Oh, thanks a lot. I appreciate nice words. Hopefully you stick around. So I'm being paid. Yeah, I reckon he is. Bernie is just a Medicare for all. Purist. Beto is Obama in vanilla. Beto is Obama 2.0, really. It's like he's come right out of the establishment factory. Called Counter the Mock. Willie, I'm proud neoliberal. Have you seen Pelosi say the people in her district are so progressive they call her corporate porn? She is a corporate porn. Bernie and anyone, really. That's the main thing. Bernie first. We'll see who else he gets. Yeah, at least Obama talked a nice game. Obama is one of the best speakers I've ever seen. Beto is just some crazy person, like jumping up on tables and going like that all the time to make a point. Crazy speaker. Oh, my girlfriend keeps making pad thai. I've never really had it though. Missing that punch. I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm not a great chef, and I would never make Thai food. The last left-wing president, I don't know, it always changes. Jimmy Carter, in a lot of ways. But he wasn't as left-wing as people think. He was in the military, after all. He was in the Navy. And he's just anti-interventionist and a lot of rational policies. He wasn't necessarily like left-wing in his ideology. Obama is centre-right, man. He'd be a Tory in the UK. Bobby Kennedy was a better speaker than JFK. JFK was good as well. Yeah, Jimmy Carter wasn't, necessarily left-wing. Cho. Joe, well, he did, get peace between Egypt and Israel. Try to tackle climate change in the 70s. He was anti-interventionist and stuff, which I know is not exclusively left-wing, but still. And he was a good person as well, which right-wingers aren't. The dissident. Better is full of word salad. Michael Brooks said it best. He gets the conclusions and expects us to just know the subject matter he was concluding. Obama said himself that he was Republican. Did he? I've missed that. Eisenhower's more progressive than Obama and Carter. Yeah, in some ways. Not the shit he did on the border, though, Eisenhower, which is fucked up. Jimmy Carter was pro-Israel. Yeah, literally every single US president since Israel was founded has been pro-Israel. And pushed fascism in Central America. Well, I don't think he pushed fascism. He backed dictators, definitely, which I've talked about earlier, about El Salvador. FDR is my favourite American president, says Christie. Yep. I agree with that. One of the best. Crazy he was in a wheelchair for his whole presidency. He tricked everyone by using his son to lean on when he was in public, so it looked like he could stand up. Centrist is centre right today, yep. Yeah, the guy who ran Obama's campaign came over and ran David Cameron's campaign in 2015, Tyler, which kind of says it all. Obama was the last GOP president. Yeah, maybe an Eisenhower Republican. That's a good one. Always like... Okay, this is really one of my last big rants, I think. Here we go. So, always lightly sleep, he says. Do you ever feel like criticising religion for all the bad religion has affected society is the kind of the same as criticising socialism for all the past, current, failed socialist governments? Oh, wait, is someone going off? Oh, Laura, good night. Thanks for tuning into the stream and everything. Cheers for the comments. Alright, this will be my last one because it is now 5 a.m. Shit. Alright, here we go. So, the question is, do I feel blaming religion for stuff inspired by religion is the same as blaming socialism for stuff that happens from socialism? So here we go. So Karl Marx wrote about socialism, wrote about all this stuff, right? And most of these countries have not carried out what Karl Marx envisioned, right? So whether that's the USSR, whether that's China, Venezuela, the stuff these countries have done isn't strictly Marxist, and it's not the end result of what Marx wanted in nearly all cases, right? Religion is literally carried out to the letter a lot of the time, and it creates this violence. So whether that is in Islamic countries today, the stuff about women covering up and all the punishments and that sort of stuff, even things like ISIS, Sam Harris made a good point. Like, what have ISIS done that Muhammad wouldn't have approved of? Which is true. What a merchant warlord from the Middle East who literally built an empire in Saudi Arabia and beyond. Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he approve of ISIS trying to build their own caliphate according to medieval Islam, which he invented? And then you have things like French Wars of Religion, right? So French Wars of Religion, literally, Protestants and Catholics were butchering each other because of differences in religion, and one was loyal to the Pope, one wasn't, and they were butchering each other for it. Religion is the core. They're literally the same race, the same language, and that's they're butchering each other over that. It's the same in the Middle East throughout history. Shia Muslims and Shia Muslims, Sunni Muslims, same sort of issue. And India and Pakistan, Hindus and Muslims kill each other loads, and that's been throughout Indian history as well. Religion, nearly all religion is violent anyway. Whether the Abrahamic religion especially, it always condones violence. It always calls for violence a lot of the time. And to say that people who commit religious violence aren't religious is crazy. Yeah, but Joe, if religion hasn't been warped, because if these Christians love Jesus so much, just take the New Testament bits of Jesus and take out every single other thing from the religion. But the Pope was meant to literally talk with God, and he was telling people to go on crusades. The person who was talking with God, apparently, and people all believed that and went to the crusades to butcher, Muslims and stuff, and fight Muslims in general. Oh, Christy, thanks for the donation. I really appreciate it. Everyone stop donating. Make me feel too guilty. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in and all the comments as well. So socialism is literally like nearly every socialist country has not even followed the doctrine of socialism mostly. All these religious issues are caused by religion and readings of the religion. It's not, saying that Jesus liked the poor and stuff, or Jesus said love your neighbor. I had Christian slayers argue, and I was like, yeah, like Jesus said, they're defending the stuff on the border, right? And I was like, oh yeah, like Jesus said, lock up your neighbor in prison camps. And they're like, yeah, but Jesus said you should also follow the law. And I was like, yes, because in a book that literally says God will come down and kill the Romans, Jesus obviously wanted everyone to follow Roman law. But then they're pulling out more quotes and like, yeah, but this, and this. And I was like, religion is so hypocritical. You can find a justification for literally anything in religion. So, for example, in the American Civil War, I've said this loads of times, there were bishops in the South who knew slavery was wrong, but because the Bible said it was okay, they're like, I can't go against God's law. I can't have secular law overriding God's law because God said it's okay, so I'm staying on the Confederate side. And it's literally, there's so much shit in all these religions that says both things. So, yeah, Jesus seemed like a good guy, even though Jesus, probably wasn't real in his incarnation in the Bible, because it's written so long after he died. It doesn't necessarily mean everything has changed. Like, I'm sure there's, Jesus is in the Quran, right? But, Muhammad's in the Quran, and they're like totally different. Always lightly sleeping. Have you heard of the history of Ireland and what nuns and priests did to Ireland? Literally killing, in Scotland as well. They recently exposed like a Catholic orphanage had a mass grave in the back because a janitor kept killing kids and the nuns kept covering it up. Or the Magdalene laundries in Ireland. Nuns and priests are the biggest fucking hypocrites ever. The Catholic Church is a fascist institution which is backed fascism, whether that's Franco, whether that's Mussolini. And the Catholic Church has been on the wrong side of history since its inception, essentially. You know, literally, someone who fought for the Nazis in World War II was the last pope. So, yeah, I don't think priests and nuns are good representatives of leftist people. In fact, priests and nuns often backed people killing leftists, like in Spain in the Civil War. What was that all about? It was fascist Catholics fighting socialists and killing them, you know. So I don't think they're a good representative of leftist people. What? People like Coldplay and vote for the Nazis, what? You can't trust people. So something that, you know, I don't think really correlated. US is not really socialist. You know, some stuff is, but it's you know, like, is it Medicare, Medicaid and shit? Yeah, no problem. Always slightly sleepy. I appreciate the question. But yeah, my opinion, socialism mainly hasn't been followed properly. Religion is often followed properly, and that's what results in violence because you're following, you know, your religion over your better nature. Like jihad, for example, is another one. Yeah, you don't have to take everything I say to heart. You don't have to believe everything I say. I just have strong opinions about religion, and that mainly comes from, like I said earlier, I was reading that book about the medieval history of the world, and seeing the Catholic Church in that book is so enlightening to see how fucking stupid it is and hypocritical, and it's all about politics. At one point, there was 3 popes, just backed by different states who wanted more control over Christianity and the world. So there was like a pope backed by the Milan, not Milan, but like Milan and the Italian city states, a pope backed by France, and a pope backed by the Holy Roman Empire. And they all said they were the pope and just stayed in their other countries saying that I'm the pope, and it's all about politics. And these people are literally meant to talk to God. Like, people believe the Pope talks to God. And then here's a good one, right? So the knights and when the Pope Urban II was preaching the First Crusade, the knights were quite conflicted because they're like, you know, I'm going to go to hell if I kill people, but the Pope, you know, if I commit more violence, I'm going to hell. But the Pope gave him a little letter saying, if you go die in this crusade, or if you participate in this crusade, I guarantee that you're not going to hell, you're going to purgatory. And then for the biblical justification for violence, he said, in the garden, is it the garden, when Jesus is getting arrested by the high priests, Peter, I think it's Peter, cuts one of the priest's ears off. And because Jesus said, sheath your sword and not cast away your sword, Jesus didn't reject violence. And that's the argument the Pope made in 1095 to knights going on the crusade. That because Jesus didn't say throw away your sword or whatever, that is, you know, that means he didn't necessarily disavow violence. So religion is all about bullshit interpretations. Even if the actual words were good, and you know that just shows you how something can easily be manipulated anyway. So people are talking some more. Obama has Kenyan children. Well, he is half Kenyan. The Pope is too liberal for Republicans in America. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Yeah. Well, because if you learn history, you get exposed to how much bullshit, you know, the system is and everything. Yeah, that's true. Obama's probably Eisenhower Republican and Rockefeller Republican. Citron, that's a weird one. Because capitalism, the end result of capitalism, if we stay how it is going to just give us Blade Runner, essentially. So, you're asking me if I want Blade Runner or the USSR. And I'd probably, I don't know, both sound shit. USSR in the 1950s or 60s. No, USSR under Khrushchev, maybe. I'd say I'd rather that than Blade Runner. Yeah, always lightly sleepy. I wouldn't say the church embraced capitalism out of necessity. It's always been capitalist. They had to actually rein it in because the popes were exploiting it too much. In the I think it's the 1400s, Pope Innocent III, he had to reform it because the priests just had like owned like massive estates and whorehouses, but they still owned so much wealth. That's why the Protestant movement like really started. It's because they saw the church and like, why is this wealth? This isn't what Jesus was about. All this wealth and all these priests being rich and stuff and being educated while everyone else can't even read the Bible because we haven't translated it from Latin. So it's always been a capitalist institution, the church. It's literally massive, like, look at the nicest churches in the world. And literally, who funded the building of these churches? The people who funded them were princes and aristocracy who wanted to get in good with God by paying for these churches. And that's how the church manipulated people into buying all this stuff for them and backing them. Like, you'd get excommunicated if you didn't do what the church wanted or didn't give them enough money and stuff. Tyler, I don't drink tea or coffee, actually. Well, iced coffee. I have iced coffee here. But I don't drink tea. Tea's for chavs. Which probably no one in the chat knows what a chav is. We used to have liberal Republicans in America. Yeah, that until Ronald Reagan made you all crazy. Restaurant voice. You're just saying stuff to try and make me read it out. I'm not reading that out. Regulations keep markets in place in our current state of capitalism. How do economies work in socialism? It's different. With state-run capitalism is one in socialism, even though it's not strictly socialism. It's too complicated to talk about here. Like, it depends what you're asking me, because every country does it differently. Like, China is not the same as the USSR. China's not the same as Cuba. So, in theory, socialism is about the power of the state, and in terms of socialism, really, it's meant to be a dictatorship of the workers. So, like, the proletariat and stuff are meant to be in control of the country, and that means nationalising these industries and everything. Privatising these industries. So, essentially, everyone pays money into, or, their labour, essentially, if it's not money, is going towards helping all these industries that are meant to benefit everyone because they're privatised and they're owned by everyone. Not privatised. Then they're privatised. They're nationalised, so they're owned by everyone because everyone owns a stake in it. So if you nationalise an industry, it's funded by your taxes, or in a perfect maybe communist utopia, it's funded by your labour instead. So we used to have nationalised railways in the UK. So it's paid for by your taxes. But because the UK was so poor, the railways really shit. So when we privatised them, they got better technically, but now they're super expensive. So people want to nationalise them again to make them cheaper and run better and everything. So that's what the difference is. It's more state-funded, meaning it should be funded by the people because the state is meant to be the people. Because what people get mixed up is socialism is not meant to be a state which is just a bunch of elites controlling everything like dictators. It's not meant to be that. It's meant to be the workers are in control, like as like a commune or like a proletariat gang, and they're meant to control the ins and outs, and they're meant to represent the people, rather than people like Maduro or Khrushchev or Stalin or Mao literally ruling as dictators and not having any say from the people, just from other elite figures. That's not how it's meant to work. Private companies make better products with an incentive to make money. Yeah, but the thing is, socialism is meant to be about being a better human. So for example, the argument is always like, why would I be a doctor if I wouldn't be paid more than a garbage man? But that's not what socialism is about. Socialism is about, if I'm good at something, I do that for the benefit of the country. So if I've got the capacity, the intelligence, and the work ethic to become a doctor, I do that. That's my contributor. That's how I contribute to society, right? And if all I can do is I'm good at physical labour, I'll become a bin man, and that's how I contribute to society. And maybe we'll all get paid the same, and we'll all live the same way, and hopefully that's a high standard of living. and that's what our life will be like, and that's what we'll all contribute, because we're all in this together as humans, trying to make the world better and make this communist utopia. That's how it should work in socialism. So it shouldn't be like, "Oh, why would I not get paid more because I've got a skilled job?" Because you're not meant to be like that. That's not what socialism's about. It's not about getting paid because you have a job that requires more education or something. You're doing it for the benefit of humanity, and that's what it's about. What happens to people who don't want to work in socialism? Well, I guess socialism relies on the ideology that you're all committed to this struggle together. So there shouldn't be anyone who doesn't want to work. And I guess if someone doesn't want to work, hopefully they're in a family and they do something in a domestic sphere. But yeah, I guess that's a good question. Also, about that competition thing, please remind me who put the first man in space, because it wasn't the capitalists, or put the first satellite in space. What's the argument against the USSR had better technology for the space race for most of the time the space race was on, until man went onto the moon. They beat the US basically to every milestone. Where was the private corporations competing with them to make it better? They just did it because they wanted to be better. So yeah, Tyler, private companies are not mutually exclusive with socialism as long as the workers own a means of production. Yeah, people are talking about like nationalizing Twitter and YouTube, which is really interesting because they're saying they've become like public platforms, like it's like a public town square. So we should nationalize it to stop like private companies exploiting the data and stuff. Citron, yeah, but the US had better technology because it was wealthier. Like the US, the US has always been wealthy, right? The USSR literally took one of the most poor countries in Europe and made it like this powerhouse in terms of like in industry and technology. And here's a sort of argument, right? Because people say communism killed X, Y, and Z. Communism killed this, right? For example, and communism, Stalinism did kill a lot of people, right? And all these things did, but at the same time, a lot of these people died because at the rate these countries were revolutionizing their industries, and you just can't sustain a society like that. But also, a lot of these people died from things that had nothing to do with socialism or communism. It's like famines and shit. Like the Chinese famine was caused by Mao, but I mean, like in Russia, it's just standard. Like, do you not think there was famines in the Tsarist period? There was. It's just the USSR literally went from a backwater in 1920 to putting the first man in space in the early 60s. You know what I mean? The USA had been wealthy since its inception. It kept expanding its territory. It kept getting more wealthy. It had two massive booms after World War One and World War Two. One of the wealthiest countries of all time as well. USSR came from one of the poorest countries in Europe and put a man in, was the first country to put a man in space. And I think that goes against your argument that means innovation. Capitalism is best technology. Because the USSR is the wealthiest country. The USA is the wealthiest country, and the USSR beat them nearly to every milestone in the space race. So I don't accept the argument really. Christy, what is my name, by the way? My name's Connor. So Conor, the Irish spelling, not the English one. But the government already does that, so that's a good thing. I'm not even reading your comments. Yeah, they do spy on us because of Biden. His name is the Tabernacle. Well, the Tabernacle is just a play on tabernacle, which I thought was funny. No, not Connor. Connor. Conor. There we go. It's in the chat. That's my name. And Cav, because my second name is Kavanagh, Tabernacle, Kavanagh, Tabernacle. But not Kavanagh in terms of Brett Kavanaugh. You spell it like this. I'll post it in the chat. There you go. Kavanagh, not Kavanagh. The better one. The Irish one. Loads of people. So Conor McGregor's trainer is called Kavanagh, same spelling. Brett Kavanaugh cousin. No, we're not even got the same name. But it's funny, the only Kavanaugh that's ever been famous is literally Conor McGregor's trainer and Brett Kavanaugh. Yeah, but Cintron, you'd improve it to become more efficient. Why would you not improve to make something? You'd waste less time. That's why you'd make something better. Like, it's not like China, everyone just has like really old Nokias and stuff because they're like, oh, this works. The state companies still make more products and stuff, and the Soviet Union, they still upgraded the things they had. They wouldn't just all be using typewriters instead of computers because a typewriter works. They still built computers. Do you ever swear in your Supreme Court? No, I'm not anything to do with Brett Kavanaugh. Yeah, people don't need to be paid to work. If you had your needs, so what's the saying? It's to live within your means. It's like live within your means, and then you each get a role in society based on your skill and potential. I think that's the sort of stuff, isn't it? Which you shouldn't have to be paid to do and stuff if you're all in this together and working for this human utopia. Sort of like Star Trek, people say is Star Trek is like the end result of socialism. Has anyone asked me to move back to Ireland? No, because I was born in England, and my parents are born in England. All my grandparents are born in Ireland, so I am like mostly Irish, but you know, I haven't got my Irish passport yet, which I probably will if we leave the EU. Yeah, China's different now. China's state capitalist, but I'm more broad generally talking about USSR or something, or China back in the day. But they'd still make innovations because it's more effective. And yet, competition does sometimes. You want competition, like for example, video game consoles. You don't want one video game console. You want competition, so they keep making each other better. But at the same time, that's like entertainment. Like sometimes you just want you want to okay if you're a state company, you're making a car, right? You don't want a car that breaks down all the time or something like that. So you're not going to make a shit car because you're like, oh, but this is all people can have and this is just, cheaper and stuff. You'd make one that works at least, and if you can make more effective changes to it to make things less, maybe it uses less petrol or something, you're going to keep doing that because at the end, if you're all working for the benefit of this society, I don't know why you wouldn't do that. America still discriminates against the Irish. I wouldn't go that far, to be honest. I think they're pretty good now because most people in America think they're Irish anyway. How do I feel about hipsters? Do they even exist anymore? It's kind of like a 2014 thing. People call me a hipster just because I hate everything mainstream, like Game of Thrones or Walking Dead. Do I have a favourite time period to study in history? Yeah, I have a couple. I have too many actually. England in the 1800s, England in the 1900s, America in the 19 oh shit, it's just too many. America in the 1920s to now. I love the 1980s as well. I love too many periods of history. That's like the colonial period in general, like Africa, Asia, places like that. From the 1700s to the 1900s, the Middle East. Like in general, I love Middle Eastern history, whether that from about 700 AD, like when Muhammad dies, or 632 AD when Muhammad dies onwards. I love all that stuff. But even like I've been playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Origins, and I'm starting to really love Greek history, Egyptian history. But I love medieval history a lot, like European, Japanese, Indian, Chinese, Middle Eastern. I love all that stuff. It's so good. I love all history, to be honest. Early modern, I have a soft spot for. I loved learning about the Spanish Empire in university. I just love too many periods of history, to be honest. I love it all. And if there's any ones I don't like, I don't particularly love the period between the fall of the Roman Empire and the birth of Islam. That's one that doesn't particularly interest me. So like about 400 AD to about 600 AD. Like and some of the stuff with like Charlemagne and King Arthur in England and shit, like I'm not too interested in that. Or even English history before the Norman invasion, 1066, like with Alfred the Great. and stuff like that. I'm not a massive fan of, to be honest. Um, rational national, rational national. I should call rational voice, man. You're not funny. Yeah, Ireland's nice. UK is really cool, but I think you'd love London, Digger. It's like I've been going there so much for job interviews lately, and it's just cool, the history and everything. Um, do companies in socialism make profit? Well, they do, but I guess no country has done a perfect implementation of socialism, really. Um, Libertarianism is the ultimate hipster ideology. Yeah, that's true. Just like people love smoking weed and shit. Charlemagne the God, no, Charlemagne, the first Holy Roman Empire emperor, who fought the Muslims in Spain, and then went back and said to the Pope he should crown him king, because he thought he was the successor to the Roman Empire, even though the Byzantine Empire was already, still the Roman Empire as well. Catholics used to get lynched with blacks in the South. Well, yeah, the KKK hated Catholics as well, didn't they? So, wouldn't be surprised. And the way America treated Irish people was awful as well. Smoking weed is cringe. I've never actually done it, to be honest. I've never done drugs, just because I don't want to put more shit in my body. And the culture around smoking weed is so lame, man. Makes me cringe so bad. Like, if you type in hashtag weed on Instagram, the posts, oh my god, make me cringe hard. I ain't a fan of the Byzantine attempt to recover the West. I like Byzantine history, but they were never that great as an empire, to be honest. Just constantly declining since Rome fell. I'm still going. Andrew's back. Yeah, I should probably go off now. People keep asking questions. Are there competing companies in socialism or no? It depends. If you're talking about China, yeah. If you're talking about USSR, I'm not sure. I don't think so. Not as much. Yeah, JFK had to say he wasn't loyal to the Pope, I remember reading. You drink alcohol? Yeah, I drink alcohol. I used to drink a lot when I was younger, like 16, like 14 to 16. I was a bit crazy, but I think I got really burnt out on it though, because at university I didn't really drink much, and then as I've gotten older, literally just can't be fucked anymore. Like my birthday and New Year's Eve, literally the only time I have a lot to drink. Otherwise, yeah, I can't be bothered. Just feel like absolute shit afterwards. I've been taking my health more seriously last couple of years, so it's good not to drink as much. Yeah, Jordan, I know marijuana is a lot safer to use and everything. And I'm not against legalizing it. I'm all for legalizing it. I hate the smell. I hate the culture around it. So yeah, I never want to do it. Christy, I am 23. I was 23 in November. Getting old. Not really, but I'm not enjoying getting older though. Because I'm just thinking, I have a long-term girlfriend, going out 6 years, and then I'm thinking about being like older and 30 and having kids and getting married. And I'm just like, fuck, man, it's close. I've said to my girlfriend like nothing until I'm 30. Like I don't want to get married or have kids until I'm 30, and that's the minimum, because I just want to enjoy my 20s. I'm just dreading. Not really dreading, but I'm just like, I just don't want to grow up. I still feel like, in a lot of ways, I still feel like I'm 16. I'm sure a lot of people feel the same. They're state-run companies, Citron, so they exist to benefit people and provide them with amenities and stuff. Yeah, America thinks it's a WASP nation still. Yeah, Hakura. I don't know what country you're from, but the UK drinking culture is really bad, like binge drinking, and everyone starts pretty early. Yeah, Jordan, my brothers both do it. I just have no interest, to be honest. Like putting smoke in my body or putting drugs in my body, I just don't want to do it. In terms of that sort of drugs, like drinking is the only drug I do. Yeah, Tyler, that's probably the period of history I'm talking about, the one I don't like. The death of the Roman Empire and the birth of the Byzantines and stuff. But I do find them interesting. Like, the Byzantines have this weird tradition, right? Like when they're fighting with each other and fighting whoever become king. If you want to take out your opponent, you don't kill them. You gouge their eyes out, and then they can't become king. It's a really weird thing they did. Like that, you'd slit people, or when you wanted to finally kill them, you'd smother them with a pillow. And it's funny when I was reading that book, it's like every time the Byzantians wanted to finish each other off, it's like, and then he blinded all his opponents, or was like, and then he smothered, he smothered his opponent to death. It's actually like this weird ritual of killing they just had between each other. It's really interesting. Um, they do Hakura. They do vape, or what is it called, Juul or some shit like the weed one, and it absolutely stinks. Just smells so bad. I think I'm super sensitive to the smell. Yeah, Veronica, but I don't want to have kids in my 20s, man. 30s is when I'm gonna start. How old is she? Do you mean my girlfriend? She's the same age as me. We're both 23. We're literally born 3 days apart. I'm born one day in November. She's born 3 days later. And we're both the same age. I know we both agreed. Um, 30s when we want to start being adults, because we haven't got anything sorted yet. Like, we don't even have full-time jobs. We're both like freelancing at the moment, so have no savings, no income. We had no place to live at the moment together. So I'm not starting a family in the next like 2 years when I've got no fucking money. I haven't even got my life started, and obviously when you have kids, it's so much responsibility. There's so much I want to do before I have kids, so I'm gonna wait. My mum had kids pretty late. Like, she had me when I was 32, and I have only one older brother and two younger siblings. So she had her last kid when she was 39. My grandma had 10 kids from 21 to like 38. America's a true multicultural empire for sure. I'd say it's an Afro-Indigenous European empire. Yeah, it's a weird one, but it still treats its, the non-whites like shit. Ligma. I don't know what Ligma is. Is Britain more waspy than America? Uh, I guess so, because it's an institutionalized waspishness, because it's literally been around for over 1,000 years in this country. Yeah, Tyler, that's interesting actually, because we can't afford things our generations before us. We don't grow up quick enough. Like, I'm still living with my parents, and I'm 23, and I know more people who live with their parents till they're a bit older and stuff. And when our parents are younger, like, they can move out. Like, I think my mum moved out when she was like 19 or something from her parents' house. Like, bought a flat and stuff, and she was just doing like a manual labour job. And now, I have a master's degree and shit, and I'm finding it hard to get a job because it's so, like, just the system is so fucked up at the moment. Didn't the Turks do that as well? I wouldn't be surprised, because the Turks and Byzantines, it's actually funny. The Ottoman Turks and Byzantines were in a bit of an alliance for a while to help fight like the Christians. Like, the last like maybe 100 years of the Byzantine Empire, as the Ottomans came on the scene. So they might have inherited the tradition. Am I a movie buff, Digger? Yeah. When I start my podcast, me and my girlfriend are gonna do the first episode. I might have different people on, but we're gonna do it about political movies. So we're both gonna have like a list, and we're just gonna talk in depth about what political movies are like. So for me, pops into my head right now, Blade Runner and American Psycho are two I want to talk about. Um, I really like American Psycho's got some good things to get into. People talking about edibles like Christy and I think Jordan. Yeah, do what you want to do, man. I'm not judging really at all. It's just not for me. And like the benefits of marijuana and hemp and all this stuff is so good for people. Like, it was funny in the Vietnam War. A lot of people were saying that they should let the soldiers smoke weed because they were giving them loads to drink to obviously sedate themselves, and they're saying that makes them so violent and hungover as well. They like just give them weed because it relaxes them, and the medical benefits are so high. But obviously you had like the anti-marijuana lobbies and shit, and obviously there's the stigma around it. They didn't let them, but obviously weed grows wild in Vietnam, so they're just smoking it anyway and smoking opium and shit. But they were saying they should give them, all the soldiers should just be prescribed weed to do, because it just would help them so much. Yeah, Akira, yeah, I'm glad it all helps you. It's like medicine, really. Like I was saying, like Bobby Kennedy, he said in 1965, he's like, why is marijuana stigmatized? It's because you got the tobacco and alcohol industry making it that way. 25, Jordan. When I was at uni for my masters, I was so weird being the youngest there, and then I became friends with someone who's 26, and she's a good friend of mine and stuff. But it's just so weird how you feel so similar, but like back in the day, it's so different. So my sister is 17 and I'm 23, and that feels kind of a lot different. But then I'm friends with people the same age distance now, and it feels exactly the same. It's really weird. And I was talking to someone on my interview a couple of weeks ago who's 40, but it doesn't feel like I'm talking to someone who's way older than me, like nearly double my age. It's kind of weird how it changes as you get older, and then as I go into the workplace, I'm sure it'll be the exact same. Yeah, always like to see people. I think that's a good one. We feel like children, like because I love video games and stuff, but then I like stuff that young kids like as well. Like I'm playing like my Nintendo Switch and I'm playing like a Mario Kart or something, which literally like 5-year-olds will be playing and loving. Do you know what I mean? And then it creates a connection that you necessarily didn't have before. Yeah, Tyler, I think that's a big one as well. Not you're talking about being in grad school, not leaving school for ages now. Like people stay in for a lot longer, like becoming whatever, like lawyers, doctors, or anything. Like people in my master's class were like 28, 29, and it's like you're in a class with loads of 21-year-olds as well, and like you're at such different stages of your like emotional development and stuff, even though you kind of feel the same. You want to go to Oxford after undergrad? Yeah, I hope you get in then. You must be smart if you want to go to Oxford. I had a couple of friends who went to Cambridge. Hemp is now legal in all the US. Oh, that's good to know. Yeah, Chrissy saying stuff. North Korea say they're communist. Might as well be an old school monarchy the way North Korea's run. Um, I need a mod squad. That's alright. It's only one guy, and I can ban him from the whole channel after this stream anyway. Yeah, American Psycho is such a good movie. I love it so much. So funny. Just cracks me up how over the top it is. But that's why I like Mr. Robot so much, because one of the main characters is inspired by Patrick Bateman and American Psycho, for only government. Sorry, I'm just reading a comment. Yeah, it is crazy. I think it just plays into the whole capitalist system, just how good they are at demonizing people. Like the whole war on drugs, especially the way it's affected minorities and everything. Rational voice, tell me why I shouldn't ban you. Because you've just been trolling and you've been doing like edgelord humour, like alt-right gateway humour. Is it hard for Americans to get into Oxford? Honestly, I don't know. Did I go to Oxford? No. The thing is, the thing of Oxford is, one of my friends was at Cambridge, right? And I'd say in terms of like intellect and shit, we're on the same level. But what the difference between me and him is his work rate is insane. He's so good at working, and he was good at all the subjects, because to get into Oxford and Cambridge, you need straight A's and everything. Whereas my good grades were in geography and history and English and stuff, but I wasn't great at, like, for example, French or maths. Well, I wasn't bad, but like I was never getting straight A's in that. And then I got good grades for my A levels, which is we did 2 years, 16 to 18 is how you get into uni. But I did good there. I got 2 A's and a B, but he got like 3 A stars and stuff, and that's just a difference, like work rate. But I went to two good unis anyway. the one I did history at was really good. The second one was really nice. Royal Holloway in London. It looks like Hogwarts, but not as good. Tons of international people there. Is it harder to get into Oxford and Harvard? Yeah. Oxford and Cambridge are the two top ones, aren't they? Harvard and Yale. There's one more that's up there as well, but Harvard's one of the big ones. Alright, so what's the time? Oh my god, it's 5:45. Too late. Too late. I was hoping to play some video games. Got to go to bed soon. 4%. I'm not sure what Oxford and Cambridge is. I imagine they do give some priority to English students, though. UCL, okay, yeah, that's another one. That's what I was thinking of, I think. London School of Economics and stuff. Warwick is kind of hard. I went to a Russell Group uni, but it's different. Rational Voice, okay, I'm going to end the stream soon. Write me a little thing why I shouldn't ban you from the channel. I'm more inclined to ban you than I was for Joe, and Joe was proper trolling me with Trump stuff, but you've just been well annoying. Yeah, Christy, I'll consider it in the future, but at the moment, I don't know. I don't want to put the strain on anyone of watching my whole stream the whole time. It's fine. Wait, let me see. Oh shit, I can ban people. Oh, Rational Voice, I can ban you right now. Look, I'm on my phone, I'm on the chat, and it says I got all these options. Put user on timeout. Oh, I could have done that. When I make him the moderator for real chaos. I'm 19 years old, studying political science. Oh, that's good. Good free subjects. Yeah, Oxford and Cambridge, best schools in the world. Oh, thank you, Hakura. Yeah, I've been getting into live streams lately myself, actually. I didn't used to watch them as much. I'm still learning ethics. Rational Voice, that is not good enough. I need more. More. Give me more. No, I don't know. Okay, what do people in the chat think? Everyone quick. This is going to be the last bit of the stream. Everyone say, should we ban the Rational Voice from the channel, or should we not ban him? And if you want a further option, does anyone want to make him a moderator of the comment section? Tell me. Beg, Rational, beg. Yeah, Rational Voice, beg. Ban him, okay. Keep him. Alright, we got 1 for 1. Make him a mod. Okay, that's for the other one. Don't deplatform him. Okay, I guess that's 2 for keep him. 2 for ban him. Oh, Citron makes a good point, actually. Because he should not be... Oh, I should. Yeah, Chrissy, you can if you want, but I just don't want the pressure of someone having to watch all my streams all the time. When I get bigger, you'll be my first choice, because I can do it at the moment just on my phone. But if I get like flooding with comments, he made me laugh. Keep it. Freedom of speech. Oh shit. Comments help your videos. Yeah, I guess. The right doesn't want an educated public. Yeah, that's true. Like the national. We can ban him next time. Fine. I guess. For Rational we vote for a stay of execution on the Rational Voice. And then we will submit the law. We will submit Prima Nocta back to Parliament. If anyone remembers what's it called? The Scottish film. Shit. Mel Gibson. I've gone blank. Freedom. What's that film? I'm not looking. I'm gonna get it. William Wallace. What the fuck's the film called? Shit. What film am I thinking of? I can't get the name. You got me a freedom of speech. But yeah, okay, he's annoying. But we'll let him Braveheart. There we go. Braveheart. Good film. Good soundtrack. Scotland was really fun actually when I went. It's so nice. inaccurate but a fun film. You know, Mel Gibson, crazy talented guy, super racist. I loved him as Riggs in Lethal Weapon though. Love that film as well. Alright, there we go. Yeah, he's a psycho. Yeah, he's fucking crazy. He became... Yeah, the thing is, like, he seemed... Like, not seemed, but, like... You'd imagine he'd be alright when he was younger, like, being with Danny Glover and everything. Yeah, Veronica, Scotland is really, really nice. Princeton is better than Oxford. I don't think so. Oxford and Cambridge are, like, older, like, way older even than the US, so... And they are the best. But all the fucking famous people who've been to Oxford and Cambridge... Harvard just churns out the Kennedys. That's what they're famous for. And Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg. What have they ever done for us? Especially Mark Zuckerberg, destroying the fucking world with Facebook. Alright. So we've settled it. Rational voice can stay. But I'm trigger happy for the next stream. The Passion of Christ South Park episode was hilarious. Yeah, Oxbridge is where the Parliament comes from. What have they done for the UK? I guess the right wing argue that the people who made the empire and shit were all from Oxbridge, and maybe that's good in their thing. Alright, everyone, let's end it there. It's my longest stream ever, and it is 10 to 6 a.m. I'm not very tired, but yeah, I should leave it here. Let's leave it here. Power is getting to you. Alright, everyone, I'm going off now. Sorry, Cintron, didn't have to wait. But yeah, I appreciate everyone tuning in and the comments and everything. It's been fun. You know, we had a good debate on the president and on rational voice being not rational at all. And I appreciate all the donations people donated as well. Yeah, hope everyone has a good week. In terms of this week, hopefully get 3 videos out again. Need to make one tomorrow, maybe a couple more. But we'll see. Got one of the Crusades in the background in case I don't record tomorrow. And yeah, so yeah, thanks everyone for the stream. Thanks everyone for the comments on my videos. Appreciate all the support. It's been fun. And yeah, just hopefully do this every Sunday or every week. I'll try and get one stream out. Check my community tab, to see when I do it. I normally post about when I do the live stream, so we'll see about all those things. Oh, wait 1 sec. Oh, sick. Look at all these effects. What the hell? Can anyone else see this? Apart from me. Oh, this is sick. Can anyone see this? Like, sorry, I was about to go off, but... What the hell? This is so cool. I should have been doing this the whole time. Amazing. Yeah, thank you, Christy. I appreciate you tuning in. And appreciate all the nice comments and conversation in the chat. That I'm like Geralt of Rivia with my beard. Actually, I'm not too afraid about going grey now. I look pretty sick. Alright. So I'll end it with this glowing face. But yeah, cheers everyone for checking out the stream, and just stay tuned to my channel for this week and see what I'll be uploading. Yeah, rational voice, your time is limited. Look at my horrible white face. Alright then, everyone.